my car intact.
Yeah, police reminding you, keep your valuables out of sight and take your keys with you. 50 years ago today, there was a promotion at a Major League Baseball game called 10-cent Beer Night. And Chuck Severson says it didn't end good.
June 4th, 1974, at the Cleveland Indians Municipal Stadium was 10-cent beer night. Fans ran across the outfield grass. Terry Urkic, remembering to ESPN, he ran out and grabbed Rangers outfielder Jeff Burrows' cap.
He kicked me right in the thigh, and he stumbled and fell down from the kick, and then the fans just really started pouring in.
Mike Hargrove, Rangers first baseman.
15 or 20 pounds of hot dogs thrown at me.
Amid arrests and injuries, Cleveland forfeited.
10-cent Beer Night. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Here's Daria Albinger.
Stocks closed mixed to start the week. The Dow down 115 points, the S&P up 6, and the Nasdaq rising 94. Nvidia added to its already huge gains after announcing new products, and GameStop surged in a move which looked a lot like its market-sharing run in early 2021. Hertz Global fell on word its COO is leaving the company. The New York Stock Exchange says a technical issue triggered limit up, limit down trading halts on about 40 symbols for a few hours this morning. The man or woman in the corner office got a big pay raise last year. Data analyzed for the Associated Press by Equilar says CEO compensation packages jumped nearly 13% to an average of $16.3 million. That easily surpasses gains for workers as inflation continues to put considerable pressure on American households. That same survey also finds more women made the list of top paid CEOs.
All right, let's check futures ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures are down 222 points. S&P futures down 31. NASDAQ futures down 120. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
5:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Man, so much news to talk about. Always appreciate you being here. Dr. Anthony Fauci. Man, you want to talk about being on the hot seat. I've got some great audio regarding this questioning from Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was quite frankly fun to watch. This is how I spent part of my day yesterday, was watching all of the deliberations with Dr. Anthony Fauci being questioned by the likes of Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others. Rand Paul, of course, did not have anything to do with the deliberations yesterday. However, he was on Fox News, kind of giving some color commentary as well. So I've got all of that. Now, remember how important this is, because it's not necessarily what has happened, because if you listen to my commentary yesterday, I really don't believe that Dr. Anthony Fauci is going to suffer any real consequences or ramifications from his actions during COVID. Part of this is obviously to make sure that we know what to watch for the next time. And I can guarantee you there will be a next time. And so it's not about what the government can learn, because I don't believe that the government, they will always operate with their own best interests in mind. It's more about what we, the people, can watch for as the government tries to manipulate Americans the next time this happens. And so a few of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene said, she is getting absolutely blasted for this line of questioning. But I want to kind of go through some of the back and forth between Dr. Anthony Fauci and Marjorie Taylor Greene. You remember when Anthony Fauci said this? Need some audio if I could.
I represent science.
You remember when Dr. Anthony Fauci said that again?
I represent science.
Well, not surprisingly, that did come up yesterday. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene asking about that comment.
Because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes
Again,
or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Yeah, so Fauci does not represent science. He was blasted for that comment. Science is all about accountability. Science is all about not only accountability, but proving your science time and again and allowing your work to be pulled apart and proven time and time again. That is what science is all about. And Dr. Anthony Fauci did not allow that to happen. That is all part of what Rand Paul has been investigating for years. And what he said to Sean Hannity last night on Fox News is fascinating. But, you know, Fauci, of course, as you all know, did not allow others to have opinions. It was his way or the highway. And so it does seem to me that Fauci, and we've said this, I've said this 1,000 times, it's like Fauci, he had a God complex of sorts way back when. Nobody's opinion mattered except his.
NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks, to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees?
Yep. Now, this is, just so you know, I mean, I've talked about this before, but think about it. That is true, although some folks are treating this like breaking news, including Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've known about this for quite some time. You have all of these NIH scientists who work for Fauci who came up with either, you know, vaccines or innovations, and they get royalty payments based on those inventions or research or innovations. And so this is from the New York Post, because these are the people who are making decisions. It's like a conflict of interest. You must all have vaccines. Okay, well, who gets the money for those vaccines? Well, we do. I mean, that's part of what the cover-up was. From the New York Post, new data from the National Institute of Health reveals the agency and its scientists collected $710 million in royalties during the pandemic from late 2021 through 2023. These are payments made by private companies like pharmaceuticals to license medical innovations from government scientists. Almost all of that cash, $690 million, went to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the sub-agency led by Dr. Anthony Fauci, and 260 of its scientists. Now, they do say it is unclear if any of the COVID vaccine royalties from Pfizer and Moderna, the latter of which settled with NIH by agreeing to pay $400 million, is even included in these new numbers. And here's the deal. NIH isn't saying. So in other words, where there's silence, there's also, quite frankly, a lot of suspicion. So the question is, did any of the protocols or the vaccines themselves that NIH and Fauci were recommending, did any of that lead to royalty money coming back to them? Now, back to the New York Post. Fauci spent years scoffing at questions about potential conflicts of interest between COVID policymakers who relentlessly pushed vaccines and recipients of private royalties. I mean, that's clearly a conflict of interest. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene went after him, and she basically scoffed at the fact that he was known as Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Fauci,
objection.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
Mr. Chairman,
Point of order.
Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in
Gentlelady will
prison.
suspend.
So there you go. It's so funny because you can hear the exhaustion and the frustration in the voice of the other lawmakers. Now, he earned his medical degree or his degree, whatever. I'm not going to quibble on that. Some of the most evil people that I've ever met, quite frankly, are doctors. Some of the most evil people that I've ever met are people with higher education. So, I mean, I'm kind of like Marjorie Taylor Greene, although I would not deny that he is a doctor. I mean, that is a degree that he earned. But I'm way, way over putting people with a doctor degree or a doctorate. I'm way over putting those folks on pedestals. But there was a moment where this was uttered. I believe this was by Jamie Raskin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into?
So I just, for whatever reason, man, I heard that at about 3 o'clock this morning, and it triggered me. I'm going to be honest with you. That triggered me. I'm going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jack. On and off showers throughout the day today. Possible hail coming as well. It's going to be cloudy with a high of 82 today, so just keep your eye on the sky. I don't think there's anything severe, but again, if you can park your car in that garage, you might want to do so. Right now, 70 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Members Nutrition Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Now, again, this comment yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into?
So, the pearl clutching. Now, again, I'm not sure who that was. It may have been Jamie Raskin. But the pearl clutching is something that I thought was, I don't know, to be perfectly honest, kind of comical. It doesn't matter who that was, but look at the reason why we're here, covering this, and the reason for this hearing. Fauci flip-flopped on masks, first saying that we didn't need them because first responders did, medical personnel needed those masks. Then he said that we did need them, and he was just, literally all over the place. And so there's that aspect of it, and there's a lot of questions that need to be asked regarding Dr. Anthony Fauci's decisions and the decisions of the NIH, and a lot of this happened under Trump. I know that. But the more that you talk with and the more that you investigate Dr. Anthony Fauci, the more questions we have.
Yeah, one of the very frightened emails he gets from an assistant in January of 2020 is an assistant saying, "Oh my goodness, this is gain of function research we funded." This is from his assistant. This is gain of function research that we funded, but I don't know how that could have happened because it never went before the safety committee. So, yes, they knew very, very quickly, and they were worried about guilt. They were worried about culpability. They were worried that anybody's hands that touched the money, anybody who approved the money going to Wuhan, would ultimately get blamed.
518, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So that, of course, is Rand Paul. And so when you have the audio bite of the pearl clutching, clearly a Democrat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into?
Yeah, it is, because we still have an entire generation of kids who are suffering because of the lockdowns that credible scientists were out there saying these are going to harm these kids, and the lockdowns are going to be actually worse than COVID itself for these kids. And it turned out to be true. Yet Dr. Anthony Fauci shut those scientists down. So, yeah, is this where we are today?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into?
Yeah, this is what we've become, and this is what we've devolved into because people want answers. And people need to understand that when the government tries to do this again, we, the American people, know what to look out for. That's what this whole thing is about. Now, did Marjorie Taylor Greene, did she get a little vitriolic? Yeah, she did. And I understand why she did. The reason why she did is because she and a lot of other Americans are angry at Dr. Anthony Fauci and what happened during COVID.
That's completely unacceptable to be able to deny Dr. Fauci, who's here, a respected member of the medical community, his title. And that's actually a personal attack on his character.
And I have instructed her.
He's not respected.
He's actually not respected. I mean, that's the thing, is that there are thousands of scientists that are out there that will tell you that Dr. Anthony Fauci is not respected. One of the reasons why a lot of the scientists out there backed up Fauci is because he was the guy that was, he was the candy man. He's out there giving away all of those grants. And so to agree with Fauci meant that you may get some grants for your research. That's part of it. At the end of the day, this one final comment was highlighted by a lot of the news media. Listen to this.
What this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
There you go. Well, at least she called him doctor at the end when she was telling him that he should be going to prison. Anyway, so that is Marjorie Taylor Greene and the back and forth between Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, the question is, was there anything of any relevance that was learned that was new? We'll get into that in the 6 o'clock hour, including some great audio from Rand Paul. And basically a lot of this, at least to me, and I watched some of it, and there is, just like I said yesterday, there's a lot of great audio that is out there. The question ultimately has to be asked, to what end? That's the question that I asked yesterday. And I'm telling you, to what end? The American people need to understand, and you need to understand, and hear what happened yesterday so that we understand what their blueprint is moving forward. so that we know what to expect and we know how to combat it. It is 5:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So who do you trust when it comes to your money? Now me, I turned to Paul Winkler years ago. It's Dan Mandis, and I still utilize Paul Winkler today as my financial advisor. Now, a lot of these other financial folks, they do tend to say different things. Those same people all have something in common. They all have something to sell. So, of course, they're pitching their own products. Now, if you worked for a car company, wouldn't you say that your car is the best? Well, it is the same thing with banks and insurance agents who sell investment products. Paul is actually looking out for your best interest. He's not going to try to sell you something. He's actually going to teach you how to relax about money. Now, you know that I get paid every time I do these commercials, but I wouldn't be doing them if I didn't believe in Paul Winkler and his guidance. And you will too when you call him for a free consultation. Paul Winkler, 615-851-1950, 615-851-1950 for Paul Winkler. Again, that is a free consultation. You can always find him online. It's paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. It is 5:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, also coming up during the show today, we've got Biden's border battle. He's out there now saying that, and the news is reporting that he's going to come out with apparently some executive orders today, the same executive orders that he could have made a long time ago, but they're not really going to help the border situation. They're actually going to make them worse. I've got that story for you as well. We have some Manifesto news as well, the Covenant Shooter Manifesto. We have some news on that as well. Very big news, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk about all of that and a whole lot more straight ahead. 5:23, Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
A funeral home nightmare. The dead wasn't dead. Details at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
529 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Ken Weaver is coming up next. Dan Mandis here. And of course, you know, we just had the 4th annual open house last Saturday at the Glock store, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That place, I got to tell you, it was packed. One of the things that I loved about that appearance on Saturday was that I was approached by a whole bunch of folks who had heard about the Glock store from yours truly and others on Super Talk 99.7. Do you know that not one person came up to me and said that they were disappointed with either the purchase of the gun or the ammunition, getting their guns, customized? They weren't disappointed with the training that they got there. And that's what I love. What I love about the Glock store is everybody who I've encountered who have gone to the Glock store, they have nothing but good things to say. That's why I like to promote and endorse the Glock store. Now, remember that Father's Day is coming up. And so if you need something for dad, why don't you go to the Glock store or just check him out online at glockstore.com. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. It is the Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere, especially anytime.
5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories this Tuesday morning. Looking ahead to the possibility for strong to severe thunderstorms. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says WeGo bus riders are speaking out about the recent crime at or near bus stations.
Riding the bus is okay. The station, the downtown station, is the least favorite part of it. If they want more people to ride and to be a part of the solution, then they've got to make it safer here.
Well, the latest incident happened Sunday where a woman says a man followed her into the terminal on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and touched her legs and exposed himself. That man was arrested. Part of Mayor Freddie O'Connell's new transportation plan includes added bus station security. Voters in November will decide whether to raise the city sales tax to pay for it. Later today in our nation's capital, President Biden expected to issue an executive order that would shut down the border to migrants when daily encounters reach 2,500. Meanwhile, in Delaware, President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, will be in court for opening arguments in Hunter Biden's gun charges trial. And a funeral home nightmare in Nebraska. Rhiannon Alley says authorities in Lincoln say a woman thought to be dead was later found to be very much alive.
Police say the 74-year-old woman had been transported from a nursing home where she was pronounced dead yesterday. 2 hours later, a funeral home employee saw the woman breathing and called 911.
A 74-year-old female that was believed to be deceased and brought here is now agonal breathing on the table.
Funeral home staff conducted CPR on the woman, and she was rushed to the hospital where her family was told she's still alive. The sheriff's office is investigating, but no charges are pending.
Apparently, the woman's death had been anticipated, and the nursing home was not required to call 911 after pronouncing her dead. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 533 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Why do I shop at Brentwood Jewelry? It's because I love Brentwood Jewelry. You walk into Brentwood Jewelry and the customer service is outstanding. You've got American flags everywhere. And they also have great ideas for, frankly, anything. I mean, graduation, you need a present for your son or daughter for graduation, maybe weddings. Father's Day is coming up. You know that Sunday, June 16th is Father's Day. So why not go to Brentwood Jewelry and you can get your dad, I don't know, maybe some cufflinks, maybe a watch. You know, Brentwood Jewelry has all the best brands. You'll be able to find something within your budget if you want to get a great timepiece for your dad, your husband, maybe your brother, whatever, on Father's Day. No matter the season or the reason, Brentwood Jewelry has all kinds of gift options for you to choose from. And again, you walk in and you can just tell that they appreciate conservative values. Located in the heart of Brentwood at 7012 Church Street East, just off Franklin Road, Brentwood Jewelry, one of my favorite stores in Middle Tennessee. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Shop in store or online, BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.538, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. It is time for the Gang of Three Amigos, brought to you by My Patriot Supply at preparewithmandis.com. Hey, Ken, I'm going to make Mason first today because he's had a rough day so far.
All right.
38 minutes in. How many times have you screwed up today, Mason?
I prefer not to comment.
We love when Mason comes in. Good morning, Mason. And, of course, Ken Weaver here as well. And it is not an easy shift, so we appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely, yeah. I got called in a little bit last night to come work at the hotel on last-minute notice. So,
oh, really?
A little tired.
What was going on? What was the big deal?
Had unfortunate call-outs at the last minute, and they're
what
like,
does
"Hey,
call-outs mean? People called in sick?"
Sick with air quotes for sure.
Don't you love that?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite. But I needed the hours. I'm about to head on a trip tomorrow, so I'll take the extra cash.
There you
where
go.
Where are you going,
Mason?
You want to tell us where you're going?
Going to California.
Why? Why would you go to California? California is like California.
Yeah.
As you folks know, I coined that phrase a few months ago.
Yeah,
Kidding.
unfortunately.
Totally
yeah, if it weren't, I'm not going for political reasons. I'm going for family. We got family out there on my dad's side. So we're going to down over near San Diego in the Escondido area.
Escondido?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I know exactly where Escondido is. It's down there in southern part of San Diego.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes from San Diego. And
all right, very good.
You going to go do some swimming?
Oh, I would love to.
Listen, here's what I need you to do, though, is, and Ken, you're with me on this, right? So what I need you to do is take some razor wire and put it up at the border. Could you do that? I'll
be right around there, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of seal up the border.
Better have some razor wire to punch one of those sharks in the nose.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Hear about that, dude?
No, I didn't. What?
Yeah, a swimmer was bumped in the water. Then all of a sudden he was attacked by a shark. And he apparently punched the shark in the nose, which got it to leave him alone, but not until it nearly bit his arm off, took a chunk out of his side, part of his leg.
Wow.
He's going to survive, though.
That's good. At least it. Oh, my gosh.
So take your razor with you out there in the ocean, Brother Mason, and give those sharks hell.
Do you know how deep of the water he was in?
Wasn't very deep, about 5 feet, something like that.
Oh, wow.
That is so crazy.
Plus, right now, the water apparently isn't very clear, so you can't necessarily see what you're in, but the shark can.
Shark sure can, man.
They can smell,
and you're
too.
out there and you're I remember Jaws, the underwater scenes, all the legs flapping around and stuff, and dun 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 dun.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I mean, a shark can attack you, I've heard, in as shallow as 2 feet of water.
Oh, yeah. They aren't afraid. It's you're stepping into their home, not the other way around.
All right, so this is what's funny. So earlier, just a scant few moments ago, I said that Mason was going to California, and then I said sarcastically, I coined that phrase a couple of months ago.
Now you're getting blowback?
Yeah, I said it sarcastically. Remember that day, Ken, when I was like, I said it by accident, and then I was like, that has to already be a thing. I couldn't have just accidentally coined that phrase. Do you know somebody actually sent me California stickers to my home?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's kind of funny, actually. Nobody ever sends me a check. It's always, but I appreciated the California stickers. They're actually still sitting right by my coffee pot. So thank you to that person.
Nice little reminder every morning.
All I get are bills at home.
Yeah.
Not the dollar kind.
Oh, trust me, I get those as well.
How about this woman in Nebraska? 74-year-old woman pronounced dead in hospice, found breathing at the funeral home.
Holy cow.
So she was... They thought she was dead, and she wasn't dead.
Yeah, the nursing home apparently pronounced her dead.
Okay.
The funeral home came and picked her up, and then while she was there at the funeral home, all of a sudden she started breathing. An employee noticed the woman was breathing and instantly called 911.
Who loses their
Funeral
job
home
in that
staff
situation?
then conducted CPR on the woman, identified by authorities as Constance Glantz of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Very unusual case, police said during the briefing. Been doing this 31 years. Nothing like this has ever gotten to this point before. Because this was a case where a death was anticipated. Since it was anticipated, she was in hospice. There was nothing suspicious about her supposed death, so the nursing home did not have to call 911. So they just figured she was dead, called the funeral home, came and picked her up. She started breathing on the table there at the funeral home.
Oh, my goodness gracious. So is she still alive now? Is she conscious?
They're not saying, but the sheriff's office is investigating. No criminal charges are pending.
Okay.
So nothing's pending, but they are investigating. I mean, what a horrible ordeal for that family. And that woman.
You remember Tom Petty when Tom Petty died?
Yes.
He died like twice.
Yes.
It was all reported that he died, and then it was like, no, he didn't die. He didn't die. And then like a day later, he's dead.
Right. I mean, hospice, it's bad enough for the family. And I don't mean that hospice is bad. I think hospice does great work.
They do.
But it's a horrible, it's emotionally wrenching for the family. And then for this to happen, good grief.
Do you know we had a very funny, kind of along those lines, Ken, we had a very funny moment in the Mandis house over the weekend. So I love this hospice nurse. She's on TikTok, and she's a hospice nurse, and she talks about the process of dying and the process of death and how she herself has been through, all kinds of different scenarios. And they're very uplifting because to me, what hospice nurse Julie says on TikTok, oftentimes it matches with my spirituality, right? So she talks about, seeing maybe, sort of guardian angels looming above patients. One time she talked about how one of the patients who was terrified of death, and part of what she was trying to do was get this guy not to be terrified of death. She walked out. He was there. He was actively dying. She was on her way home. In her mind, suddenly, she heard the man's voice. And he was saying exuberantly in his voice, in her mind, Julie, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's incredible. She moments later received a text that this particular patient had just died.
Very interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's turned into one of my favorite TikTok accounts. And again, if you want to check her out, it's Hospice Nurse Julie.
Hospice Nurse Julie. Yeah, hospice workers they would be very interesting people to talk to.
Oh yeah, she's got all kinds of crazy stories, and it's interesting. You bring this up, Ken, and then I promise you we're going to get away from dying. But they did an article on people's last words were often these 4 phrases.
Okay,
you ready? This is from CNBC.
All right.
Last 4 phrases are: I want to tell you that I love you.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that I forgive you. Would you tell me that you love me? Would you give me your forgiveness?
Wow.
Oftentimes, those are the last 4 phrases that people utter before they die.
That's according to hospice workers?
That is according to hospice workers. And they talk to, University of Pennsylvania did some sort of a study.
Mm-hmm.
So as Amy and I are talking about this over the weekend, I go back. This is where people are going to make fun of me. So knock yourselves out. I get into the bathtub and I've got my suds and my salts. And I have the great idea to go back and watch the scene in ER where Mark Green dies.
Oh, no.
Amy walks into the bathroom and I am blubbering, crying because I'm reliving that scene where Mark Green dies in ER. And she's like, what the? She walks
What are
in
you doing,
and I'm in
man?
the bathtub and I'm crying. Man, it's so sad, Mark. And I try to explain. It's just, oh, my God.
Oh.
Here's what I have to ask, though.
This is what not only my life is like, but Amy's as well.
All right, so you've decided you're going to go take a bath. You run the bath. You get your suds and your salts.
Yep.
And then it just dawns on you, I think I'll watch that scene in ER.
Yeah, because we were talking about...
Oh, yeah, you were talking about
Hospice Nurse Julie.
Okay.
And it turns out, because I was telling Amy, this is how funny, this is how simpatico we are. I said to Amy, I want to get this book. Because usually my books revolve around either sports or politics.
Right.
She's like, I said, I want to get this book. And it's a hospice nurse. And she's looking at me like... You want to get a book about a hospice nurse? And I said, yeah, I watch her on TikTok. And she's like, Hospice Nurse Julie. And I said, yes.
So she Amy
knows
follows her
Hospice
too.
Nurse Julie too. She's been watching her for a while now. So I want to get that book by Hospice Nurse Julie.
Sometimes you got to be careful whenever you type in nurse whoever on social media because
oh, really?
They're not hospice nurses.
You have a thing about nurses, Ken?
They end up being half-naked nurses.
Well,
but I don't
guess,
think that Hospice Nurse Julie fits that category.
Sadly, no. Hey, so anyway, moving on. Hey, this is kind of a cool text we got. You ready?
All right.
This is from 7865. Good morning, Dan. My name is Caitlin. Yesterday was my 21st birthday. She says, I love listening to you guys and your show and have been doing so with my father for just shy of 3 years now. So she is now at 21. She is now legally allowed to listen to the show.
Happy birthday, Caitlin.
Happy birthday, Caitlin, and say hello to your dad for us.
Yeah, 21 years old. I remember being 21. Nothing hurt.
Oh, I had a lot of hurts at 21. I had a lot of hurts. I had a lot of heartbreak.
I'm talking accidents. About physical hurts, man.
Oh, that?
Yeah,
I'm
talking about, just being able to do things like reach for a coffee cup without, pulling a muscle in your back.
Mason, see what you have to look forward to?
I'm so ready for it. Yeah, let's go.
Listen, here's the thing. My great piece of advice I can give to Mason, start the bubble baths early in life. Because I just started about 5 years ago. Changed my life.
What are the salts? What are salts?
Like Epsom salts and stuff?
Yeah. What is that?
Dr. Teal's.
What does it do?
I don't really, to be honest, know. It gives it supposedly they're therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So they're therapeutic.
Give you soft skin?
Yeah, sure. Soft skin.
All right.
And they're therapeutic. They got a nice scent to them. And then I have the sudsy thing too. So, And I watch videos of, TV characters dying and I start crying.
Of sad scenes in sitcoms.
I don't know what got over me or why I had to watch that scene like right now.
Man, that's torturous.
I don't know why it was just so weird. But we're talking about death.
Yeah.
And, and
it was part of the theme.
It was part of the theme of my Saturday, I think it was Saturday or Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. The way I find that interesting is I first thought that came up on your TikTok feed as you were getting into the tub, just scrolling through TikTok and it popped up and then it just was like perfect timing. But the fact that you sought it out is
I sought it out. Mm-hmm. Listen, a man who is in touch with his masculinity and can admit taking a bubble bath is that a good thing?
What?
And then admits it on the radio?
What?
It is Dan Mandis.
What do the bubbles do? I mean, are you playing in the bubbles or are you just,
that's none of your business,
blowing
Ken.
bubbles just across the room.
You crack me up, man. I love it.
You know what? I'm not exactly sure what the bubbles do, actually.
I'm bringing you back a rubber duck from California.
They're just there.
I'm on a cloud. I'm light as a feather.
Mason, you got it. You know what?
I was going to say, that's what the Epsom salts do. They get you slightly bit high. So that way that the clouds.
Listen, here's the deal, though. I also this weekend used a chainsaw.
Oh, way to go, Brother Dan.
So you know what? Yes, a man can adequately operate a chainsaw.
Way to go, Brother Dan.
And also take a bubble bath.
What'd you do with the chainsaw? What were you using it for?
I was
trying to kill a spider.
It's going after the damn cicadas.
Yeah.
I can't take them anymore. No.
You were like Leatherface, dancing and swinging it around.
I was, it's just, we have a lot of stuff that needs to be put back. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you pull the cord and start it, or did Amy?
No, I started it.
Way to go, Brother Dan Mandis.
What is wrong with you? I'm not that bad.
I'm just joking with you, man.
She had to show me it first. Totally
this
kidding.
Is the ripcord. And then
Totally, yeah.
That's way to go, Brother Dan Mandis.
Thank you. Very
Was
proud.
it electric or gas, though?
Battery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so what do you call that? Yep. We decided I couldn't handle cords because I kept mowing over the cord when I was mowing the lawn years ago.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I'm not the only guy that's ever done that, by the way, when I admitted that years ago.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
It does happen. All right, well, that's it for this episode of the... Did we cover anything we actually wanted to cover?
I think we had fun.
We did have fun.
Talked about salts and bubble baths.
Mm-hmm.
And a poor 74-year-old woman who apparently was determined to have died in the nursing home only to come back alive on the funeral home table.
And from what I understand, she woke up and wanted a bubble bath. That's what probably could have happened. That's what's going to happen to me at 74 if I wake up from the dead.
You know what I need?
I'll be lucky if I make it to 74.
Mm-hmm. What do you need, Mason? Besides me going to break.
Exactly that. That's where we're heading to.
All right, I'm going to move on. 5:54 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. WTN Dan Mandis here for USS. One of the big issues that can impact your home and your health is mold. Now, lucky for you, United Structural Systems is offering you $500 for the best mold treatment available today. Now, they've got a certified team at USS that is going to locate that mold in your crawl space and get rid of that mold permanently. And right now, they're offering you $500 as well because USS is always looking out for you and your pocketbook. Now, USS is home to their 3-step RTE process. They remove the mold. They treat the area so that it doesn't come back, and then they encapsulate your crawl space to keep it dry and mold-free. And again, they're going to do all that, $500 off when you mention my name. You can find them online, USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. 5:55. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
Well, it has been a year since digital speed limit and road closure signs went up on I-24. Have you noticed any difference in traffic? We'll tell you about it at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 6 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Can't rule out severe weather today. Could see gusty winds and small hail as the main threats. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. A stretch of I-24, part of a pilot program to decrease travel times and crashes. Digital speed limit and road closure signs have been up for about a year. Channel 4 talked to a few drivers to see if they've noticed any difference.
It's always going to be traffic every morning, and it's really bad. So I feel like any sign or whatever they're trying to do is not going to stop the traffic.
I think they're useful because they kind of give you an idea of what's going on up ahead. Gives you kind of a chance sometimes to bail out before you get stuck.
TDOT says there's been a small decrease in injury and fatal crashes along I-24 with these signs, but travel times have not improved much. Traffic is up by 5%, and they're working on choice lanes, which people can pay to use in order to decrease commute times. Some news we're going to be bringing you today. Opening statements in Hunter Biden's gun trial are set. A jury of 6 women and 6 men were sworn in yesterday. Right now in Nashville, Metro Police say there's been a rash of car break-ins from North Nashville to Bellevue. One woman telling Channel 4 thieves left something behind when they smashed out her windows.
It was comical, honestly, because, you break into my vehicle and try to steal something, but I end up with your phone and about $6 or $7.
Police are reminding people to keep valuables out of sight and take your keys with you. 50 years ago today, there was a promotion at a Major League Baseball game, and it did not end well, says Chuck Severson.
June 4th, 1974, at the Cleveland Indians Municipal Stadium was 10-cent beer night. Fans ran across the outfield grass. Terry Urkic, remembering to ESPN, he ran out and grabbed Rangers outfielder Jeff Burrow's cap.
He kicked me right in the thigh, and he stumbled and fell down from the kick, and then the fans just really started pouring in.
Mike Hargrove, Rangers first baseman.
15 or 20 pounds of hot dogs thrown at me.
Amid arrests and injuries, Cleveland forfeited.
10-cent beer night. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
Investors got off to a rocky start to June, thanks in part to a technical glitch in the New York Stock Exchange. Trading on dozens of stocks, including Berkshire Hathaway, had to be halted briefly amid wild swings in prices. By the time the closing bell was rung, the Dow Jones had slipped another 115 points and was sitting at 38,571. The S&P 500, on the other hand, gained about 0.1% on the day. The NASDAQ Composite rose just over 0.5%. After another run-up in GameStop shares sparked by meme stock trader Keith Gill, a.k.a. Roaring Kitty, E-Trade is having internal discussions about banning Gill from its trading platform. The Wall Street Journal says E-Trade has concerns about potential market manipulation. And soda brand Poppy, which markets its drinks as good for your gut health, has been slapped with a class action lawsuit. The plaintiffs claim the drink doesn't contain enough prebiotics to make any difference. The company calls the lawsuit baseless.
All right, let's check futures ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures down 189, S&P down 25, NASDAQ down 93. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com. 6:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I just saw Ken Weaver.
I saw you too, Brother Dan. I'm looking at you right now.
I just saw a video that absolutely made my day. I've gone ahead and tweeted it out, X'd it out, whatever.
All right, I'll share it.
Follow me at Dan Manda Show.
Yes, sir.
It's John Rose, of course, our Congressman John Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And he is giving a big speech.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to address the terrible precedent
on the House floor
in our country.
And he's going on, and he's defending Donald Trump and talking about the verdict,
politically driven prosecution.
Very serious stuff. But behind John Rose is his son, who looks like a little tyke, 8, 9, 10 years old maybe. And he starts making the funniest faces at the camera. and so Rose is just, he's going on and on and on. And his son behind him is like sticking out his tongue. He's doing the whole cross eyes thing. And he's looking right at the camera.
Yeah.
And it's just the funniest thing ever. And I'm not sure why his son was behind him, or if there was a reason why he's doing all of this. I guess the congressman had him in the, work for whatever reason. And so he told his son, smile at your brother on the camera. Well, his son went way above and beyond that. And now, in the news today is Congressman John Rose and his son. As Rose is giving this impassioned speech defending Donald Trump, you've got his son in the background, again, sticking out his tongue, cross-eyed, all the silly things that little kids do.
Stealing the show.
Stealing the show. That is exactly what he was doing. So there you go. I don't know how old his son is, but that is funnier than all get out. So if you want to see that, you can. Ken has put it to our own social media.
I have indeed, Brother Dan.
And you can find it at Dan Manda Show. All right, it is 6:09, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Bill Maher, he got a little bit of pushback when he said that Joe Biden is going to lose the upcoming election. Listen.
I said it many times. I would vote for his head in a jar of blue liquid over Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean that I'm not. First of all, I think it's a moot point at this point. He's going to lose.
Who, Biden?
Yes.
No, you're wrong.
Oh, so somebody telling Bill Maher that he's wrong. Now, that is a tech journalist named Kara Swisher.
She went, no,
Bill. You're wrong.
Stop that, Bill.
She actually, if you watch the interview, she wanted to place a bet with Maher, and he wouldn't do it. She was like, I will bet you this. I think it's at his house or wherever it is. I'll bet you this building that we're in that Joe Biden is going to win. And Maher wouldn't do it. But, she says there is a silent majority of people. This is what she says. There is a silent majority of people, mainly women, who simply will not vote for Donald Trump.
I'm telling you he's going to win.
Convince me.
All right. There is you remember the silent majority with Nixon?
Correct. Yes, I do.
There's a silent majority of people who really don't like Donald Trump. And I
don't think they're that silent.
I think there's a noisy group, certainly. And there are elements of, going too far. But there is a quiet group of people. And I have a lot of people who are Trump relatives. And now they're women. They're all women.
Right.
There's a lot of men who, and my family, people I talk to, various people, who are like, I'm voting for Trump. All the women, quietly, no.
Yeah, that's what she says. Whole lot of women simply will refuse to vote for Donald Trump as this sort of silent majority. Now, the polling is out there, all kinds of mixed messages. I hesitate to put too much emphasis on it, especially after the verdict, the hush money trial verdict, 34 counts of guilty. But let me put some thoughts out with some of these headlines, right? One poll shows, and these are blaring headlines, right, that half of Americans believe that Donald Trump should end his campaign immediately, as USA Today. Well, okay, those are Democrats that hate Donald Trump anyway. So, of course, they're going to say that. I would say this. Don't pay a lot of attention to the polls that are incredibly negative, because that is exactly what the media wants you to think. That's exactly what the Democrats want you to think. And that they work hand in hand. Now, I've been very consistent, just so you folks know where I stand, and I think most of you do. I don't like to dwell on polls, and I think that polls obviously are a snapshot. But I also believe that polls can be famously unreliable, and I think the media that uses polling knows how to manipulate the numbers, and certainly the pollsters know how to manipulate the numbers. I was reading one poll, and they had shown that they had spoken to 718 people. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, really? So what you're going to do is you're going to have a blaring headline that shows that the American people believe that Donald Trump should end his campaign because of what happened in this hush money trial. You only spoke to 718 people? I mean, I get it, they extrapolate and whatever, but here's the deal, is that follow the money and look at how much money Donald Trump has been able to raise over the last several days. But here we have the usual sort of Joe Biden sycophants who are Biden supporters, and so that's part of what's going on. The polls come in, though. Listen to this. The first survey out of the gate after last week's verdict came from a Morning Consult poll. The verdict there was announced at about 5 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, and by early Saturday morning, Morning Consult reported that a majority of those surveyed, 54%, approved of the guilty decision, and that 15% of Republican voters wanted Donald Trump to drop out. A day later, a CBS News poll found that 57% said the jury reached the right verdict, but that not many people had changed their minds about the big picture of 2024. Then an ABC News Ipsos poll found that 50% said the verdict was correct, 27% said it was not correct, 23% said they didn't know the verdict was correct or not. None of this means a damn thing. Because I've got another article that will quote 3 more polls that show that most people don't give two you-know-whats about what happened in the hush money trial. And I've got other polls that will show that the support for Donald Trump has increased since the hush money trial verdict came out and the 34 guilty verdicts came out. So in other words, all of these polls say different things, and it is impossible to really understand where the American people are on this. But you cannot deny the fact that Donald Trump's base has been activated even more, and his base has been widened. The foundation of his base has become even more solidified because of what happened. That we know because of all of the donations coming in, the $200 million or so that has come in. It is 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads. Thank you very much. 6:16 weather today. We've got some possible hail and storms. High of 82 right now, 71 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yeah, we don't know how this is all going to shake out. We simply don't. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy is out there making some rounds, and he told Fox News yesterday that regardless of some of the polling out there, it is about the issues, especially the money.
The only thing that Biden campaign had an advantage on was money, and now they just failed at that. And what we see early on from people, those who didn't support Trump realize that this whole trial would have never happened had he not ran for president. The DA passed on it, the DOJ passed on it, the FEC passed on it. So they know it's trumped up in the idea that it's going after a political opponent. Lots of times when that happens in world history is you create a movement on the other side and it comes back to bite you. And I think that's exactly what the Biden is seeing happening to them now.
Yeah. In May alone, Donald Trump raised $141 million as the hush money trial really did take center stage. The Trump camp said that number is over $200 million. You've got small donations. You've got big dollar donations as well. That is a massive haul. So you can sit here and you can talk about, this poll versus that poll and whatever. Follow the money, and it has gone to Donald Trump. That is, again, a massive haul. But here's the other thing. The verdicts, the 34 guilty verdicts, that doesn't change where the economy is. That doesn't change the cost of goods. That doesn't change the fact that gas is rising again. That doesn't change the inflation rate. That doesn't change the wide open borders. It doesn't change the crime going up in all of these Democrat-run cities. It doesn't change the fact that Biden is about to grant amnesty to 360 illegal aliens, at least. It also doesn't change the fact that the president flew in migrants directly into American cities and didn't tell those American cities who or what was coming their way. It doesn't change any of that. And by the way, Biden is still leading Trump is still leading in the swing state polls. Wisconsin, Trump is up by 0.1. Arizona, Trump up by 4. Georgia, Trump is up by 4.8. Michigan, Trump is up by 0.5. Pennsylvania, Trump is up by 2.3. North Carolina, Trump is up by 5.3. Nevada, Donald Trump is up by 5.4. So how to handle the verdict? I mean, clearly, Biden is embracing this guilty verdict. Biden is out there, apparently the last couple of nights, he has been calling Donald Trump unhinged and obsessed. Okay. Well, I think that most Americans do agree that this situation with the hush money trial, I mean, when you look at all of the evidence that is out there that this was something that Joe Biden manufactured, working with Alvin Bragg and the Democrats doing whatever they can to take out Donald Trump because they can't beat him on the issues, I think the American people know that. And so, yeah, I'd be a little unhinged and obsessed as well if I were Donald Trump. Here's more from Kevin McCarthy.
The intensity to vote for Trump is stronger than the intensity to vote for Biden. And this election is really not about Trump, it's about Biden. Do you want 4 more years? And if I was the Biden family, I would be very leery of going after somebody about a convicted felon when you have your own son going to trial right now. Yep. And it's not just the son. It might be about a gun, but you're going to get into the money. And did any of that money flow to the rest of the family? So you could be an unconvicted felon inside the Biden family. So I would be really leery of casting that other, because this is something much different when it comes to President Trump. This is a case that never should have taken place.
Yeah, you heard him mention Hunter Biden and his trial that did start yesterday. These are the gun-related charges. Did he lie on a federal gun form in 2018 that asked if he was addicted to drugs? The jury has been selected, and so the opening arguments begin today. But remember, this trial, and this is important, this trial is in Wilmington, Delaware, where the Bidens have a long history. I mean, Biden was senator for, over 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? So this is going to be a far more, I would say, favorable environment for Hunter Biden than Trump had in New York, where Trump, he does have a long history in New York, but politically, they can't stand Donald Trump. And so he was clearly at a disadvantage with that jury pool. Hunter's trial really, again, it does begin today with some opening statements. And so coming up, I've got some audio from Jonathan Turley and what his thoughts are now on the possibility of an appeal. There does seem to be a lot of debate going on as to what Donald Trump and his legal team should do. Should they try to go straight to the Supreme Court? Should they try to go through the usual appellate process? We've all been talking about this quite a bit. I've got a short soundbite to talk about that, and then we'll move on. It is 6:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here telling you about my friends at Stoltz Co. And yes, they're incredible pole barns. You can put these pole barns anywhere, and they can function as anything. Now, what I'd like you to do, head to their website. It is stoltzco.com, and take a look for yourself at this amazing construction. STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com. And you can build one of their pole barns for your vehicles, for your horses, maybe as an event space. And if you've got enough land, you can actually build a pole barn and you can live in it. We call them barn dominiums. Stoltz Co. is among the elite in pole barn construction here in Middle Tennessee. So you can check them out at their website, again, stoltzco.com. You can also find them online or on their Instagram and Facebook accounts. You can simply call them for an estimate. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. You're not going to be disappointed. 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co. That phone number one more time, 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co. It is 6:23 on Nashville's Morning News. Ken Weaver was coming up in the news at 6:30.
What the heat this summer could do to your household budget at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.626 on WTN. By the way, if you're really curious, the election betting odds are showing Donald Trump still going to win the presidency, 51.1% to Joe Biden's 40.1%, and that is up 0.2% for the former president, and that is down 0.5% for President Joe Biden. So again, the polls are all over the place. As Donald Trump says, the poll that matters, the day that matters is November 5th. It is 6:26 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, I never really considered myself a prepper, but I do consider myself a guy who does care deeply about his country and his family. Now, that is why I order emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Now, you need to do the same. Go to preparewithmandis.com. Now, every day we see stories about America under attack. You've got China, Russia, Iran, North Korea threatening our infrastructure. America is vulnerable, but that doesn't mean that you have to be. Order emergency food from My Patriot Supply at preparewithmandis.com, and you're ready for anything. My Patriot Supply has helped millions of Americans get ready for the worst. Now, they've got one of their best deals right now. They've got a great deal. Their 3-month emergency food kits are $200 off each. Now, that means that you can stock up and save big time at preparewithmandis.com. And again, their 3-month emergency food kits, $200 off each. Again, that means that you can stock up because they are each 3-month emergency food kits, $200 off. So you can call them and order a whole bunch. This emergency food lasts for 25 years. There's a ton of variety. And yes, it does taste good as well. You can find them online. Find that special deal. Preparewithmandis.com. Preparewithmandis.com.
.30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tracking the chance for severe weather today. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Elsewhere around the country,
6 states are now bracing for a blistering heat wave. Parts of California, Arizona, and Nevada could see temperatures top 110 this week. Nationwide, NOAA predicts a 61% chance of this summer being the hottest on record. And that heat, along with additional factors this year, mean it will cost more to cool your home. A new forecast predicts cooling costs will hit a 10-year high this summer.
Andrew Dembert reporting. President Biden taking a lot of heat for the southern border illegal immigration crisis, expected to take executive action today to try to help his election effort by shutting down the border when migrant encounters reach 2,500 per day.
It's a very desperate man trying to divert, I guess, what is in my mind an irredeemable problem, and that is that he created a crisis at the border intentionally, purposefully, politically. Spent 3.5 years opening the borders and saying, come on in.
That's North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Cramer. And this is all White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre would say about opening arguments today in the gun charges trial to President Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
The president and the first lady love their son. They support their son. You've heard them say that. You've seen that many times in statements.
Hunter Biden pleading not guilty to lying on federal forms in order to buy guns. And right now in Nashville, people in a neighborhood near Nolensville Pike and Harding Place say they hope something's done about cars being intentionally set on fire.
So middle of the night, I woke up to what sounded like fireworks. We've come to learn that that's the sound of a car exploding.
Nashville Fire telling Channel 4 they've installed a camera in the area to keep an eye on this particular intersection near Nolensville Pike and Harding Place after multiple complaints from people who live in the area. Several cars intentionally set on fire. That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
6:32, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Matt is here. You know, I'm in the middle of a great backyard makeover, and I know the value firsthand of updating and upgrading your backyard. At Moon Valley Nurseries, they can help you if you've been thinking about doing that as well. Now, think about what you would want in your perfect backyard. That's what I did. Then check them out online at moonvalleynurseries.com/getgrowing. Now, you can actually add a ton of livable space to your home when you do this, not to mention, of course, increasing the value of your home as well. Now, if you're not quite sure what you need to do, but you know that you need to do something, get a free design consultation from my friends at Moon Valley Nurseries. They can help you prepare for any backyard event, big or small. They can help you by creating the perfect setting for anything. It can be a wedding, it can be a graduation party, it can be a kid's birthday party. They can help you regardless. They like to say, we create the yard, you create the memories. Find them online. Please tell them Dan Mann told you to reach out. moonvalleynurseries.com/getgrowing. And get a free design consultation. One more time, moonvalleynurseries.com/getgrowing. .637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And welcome on in, along with Ken Weaver. Mason Fleming is in for Johnny B. Johnny's back on Monday. The Members Nutrition Super Text line is a lot of input today. Thank you very much. 615-737-9986. I touched on the polling, which is so contradictory, it's not even worth going into. But one of the things that, and talking about the polling following the Donald Trump guilty verdicts, and so, one of the big questions is, and somebody pointed out on the super text line, as I was talking about the fact that there's contradictory polling everywhere, is the fact that what you really need to do is follow the money and which side is more passionate about their particular candidate. And I think that we would all agree, even Democrats would agree, that they're not excited about Joe Biden. They're simply not. Republicans, by and large, I believe, are excited about Donald Trump. And that's why we saw so many millions of dollars that was donated after the guilty verdict. And also, by the way, there were also millions of dollars that were donated during the trial. So that's also part of the conversation. Now, the question is, and I was talking about this in the previous segment, as far as the contradictory polling, I'm just sort of, shrugging my shoulders on that. I don't care about the polling. Here's what I think needs to happen. I don't think he can do it, but I would love to see Donald Trump try to go straight to the Supreme Court. Now, there's a lot of disagreement within the legal community on this as far as Donald Trump's appeal goes. Now, Jonathan Turley, a George Washington University law professor, legal analyst for Fox News, among others, he says that it is doubtful the former president will be able to go straight to the Supreme Court. This is what he said last night.
We are going to pursue every avenue. I must say I do not hold out much hope that the Supreme Court will allow them to go directly to the highest court for review. The reason is that the Supreme Court previously turned down Jack Smith, who wanted to expedite his own prosecution of Trump. And I think that some of the justices are going to want to stay within that same lane.
We do have, obviously, a big election coming up. And so if I were to make an argument, I would say, listen, the American people have a right to know where the highest court on the land stands on this. And so if they go through the traditional appellate process, then by and large, most people are saying, unless they can somehow expedite that, that it's not going to be over with until well after the election. So we'll have to wait and see ultimately what they decide to do. But, with Jonathan Turley, we've been through all of the mistakes that Judge Marchand made, if that's what you want to call them. Do you really want to call them mistakes? Whatever. But we all know what he did. I mean, I talked about this ad nauseum for a long time, either with me or I was interviewing some legal analysts as well. So we don't need to dwell on all of those mistakes that Marchand made because we've been talking about them for quite some time. The bottom line, though, is this. According to Jonathan Turley, if you wanted a quick end to all of this, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I have to tell you, I think that these errors are rather glaring and obvious. I can't imagine this verdict being sustained on review. It just may take a while. It may occur later. In fact, it may not occur until they get to the Supreme Court. But I think the Trump campaign has to assume that it will not get a final review before the election.
Yeah. And so part of me wonders, okay, well then how will that play with the American people? That's number one. Number two, the next big question is, will Donald Trump ultimately go to jail when he goes in for sentencing on July 11th? And so that, of course, is the worry. Somebody was asking me if I had heard what the ladies of The View said yesterday regarding, I think maybe it was Friday, whatever it was, where they said that their sources are telling them that Judge Marchand is going to sentence Donald Trump to a year in jail. I cannot imagine that that's going to happen. But the most revolting thing about that audio, and I don't have it in front of me, but the most revolting thing about that was that they were so giddy about it. They were so excited about that. It was almost like they couldn't wait. And the audience is applauding. They're all very excited. I do have the audio. If you missed it yesterday, this is what happened on The View as they are giddily reporting that Judge Marchand is going to sentence Donald Trump to a year. And basically, it's going to be 6 months at Rikers and then 6 months of probation.
He believes that they will recommend a 1-year term in prison. And that is because when you spend a year in prison in New York or under, you serve in Rikers Island. Okay? Also.
And everybody gets really excited. I mean, she's got a big crap-eating smile on her face, Sunny Hostin does.
I did some research. Right. The other thing I'd like to say is the other reason that they will do this is because he has shown an utter disregard for our institutions.
Right.
And prosecutors, when you are recommending a sentence, you are not just recommending a sentence so that they can be rehabilitated or so that they can be punished. You're sending a message to the community that this is not going to happen again. This is not okay. The other thing I want to say is that there's another thing that they will likely recommend is a 6-month split. 6 months at Rikers, and then the rest, 5 years, 4.5 years of probation. That is under New York law.
Yeah, so there you go. Now, who knows whether or not that is actually what Judge Marchand is going to do or not. I believe, and during that same segment yesterday, I also played the audio from Donald Trump saying, listen, if I got to go to jail, then I got to go to jail. Telling his lawyers, don't beg Judge Marchand not to send me to jail. If that's the way that it is, then that's the way that it is. And I did find it interesting that that is the former president's opinion. It almost sounded like in this interview with Fox News that he was resigned, that he was going to be going to jail. Here's what Jonathan Turley says about all that.
There are a lot of options here. If he doesn't go with a jail sentence, which I think would be absurd, there's community service, there's home confinement. In most of these cases, I think you would have a conditional dismissal. The type of go out and sin no more. You're on probation or parole and you're under court review. I think that's what most judges would view a case of this kind. But nothing that has happened in this case is how things are usually done in the criminal justice system, in my view.
What I said yesterday is that Trump needs to get out of that culture of the New York legal system because it is crooked as all get out. It clearly is. And so for Trump, whether it is, Judge Marchand, you've got apparently not one but 2 levels of appellate courts. Seems to me like you've got just a whole bunch of rotten apples. Now, I would like to say that I would be perhaps surprised, but you've got a lot of folks out there that are saying there's no way that this thing is going to survive an appeal. You folks have a lot of faith in the New York judicial system that I simply don't have. So I think ultimately the Trump legal team does need to try to get this in front of the Supreme Court. Coming up, some Manifesto news. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you very much. 6:46 on Nashville's Morning News. Today, a storm. A storm is possible hail as well. Today, a high of 82. Right now, 71. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Manifesto and Covenant school shooting, it kind of weaves in and out of the news, but it's never really far from our minds, and the victims are never far from our hearts. And so there's a guy out there named Garrett Davidson. This all started on the Brian Wilson Show afternoons here on WTN. Garrett Davidson is a guy who used to be a lieutenant, used to work in the Office of Professional Accountability in Metro Nashville's police department. And he was on Brian Wilson's show at the tail end of last week. And the interview happened actually right as the verdict for Donald Trump was coming down. But this guy, Garrett Davidson, he's got a lot of issues with the higher-ups in Metro Police. But among them because he's got like this 61-page document that outlines a lot of these issues. And there's a lot there, and I don't have time to get into all of it right now, clearly. But if you want to see it, you can. It's at yourfarb.com. But he's got a lot of issues with the higher-ups in Metro Police. But among all of this is Brian's reporting that apparently Metro is investigating the therapist of the Covenant school shooter, Audrey Hale, the therapist. And apparently what happened is that Hale told the therapist that she fantasized about killing her parents and shooting up a school. And the therapist, it would appear, did not report that to local law enforcement. That is against the law. So if you are a therapist and one of your patients comes to you and says, I fantasize about killing people, which is apparently what happened here, you are supposed to go to the authorities and alert folks. And allegedly, the therapist did not do this. And that's going to be a very, very big issue if that does turn out to be true. So we keep screaming that we need to release the manifesto, and the police keep saying, well, this investigation is still open. And a lot of us are saying, well, wait a minute. The investigation is still open. We don't understand that because Audrey Hale, she's dead. Well, apparently the reason why the investigation is still open is because it would appear they're investigating this therapist. Now, the name of the therapist has yet to be released, but the question is, it is law that a therapist needs to report these types of discussions to local authorities. She did not. Why has there not been any charges filed against this therapist? I mean, this has been going on now for quite some time. And so also some of my own questions. What else might be exposed if they go after this therapist? There have long been questions about other possible motives. So if they start diving into these therapy sessions, if they start diving into these conversations between Audrey Hale and this therapist, what else could come out? I don't know. Now, Brian reported that they've been going over these search warrants. They've run search warrants on the home of that therapist, the old office of that therapist. That is why this whole thing does remain under investigation. Now, the Tennessee Star has picked up on the story as well, and they report that they actually now know the identity of that therapist. But so far, they haven't published the name. Now, the therapist actually retired, or something happened. The therapist let her license lapse about 86 days, I believe, before the shooting. But this is how the Tennessee Star reports all this. After learning the identity of the psychologist late Friday, the Star confirmed the psychologist was previously licensed in the state of Tennessee and endorsed as a health services provider. The professional record for the psychologist, who has a PhD from George Peabody College, now part of Vanderbilt University, additionally showed no history of disciplinary action or professional complaints over the course of her nearly 40 years in the field. In other words, it sounds like this therapist, is on the up and up. Sounds like she's a very good psychologist, but I don't know anything about this world. The psychologist, they say, whose identity the Star is withholding to preserve her privacy, was licensed with the Tennessee Board of Examiners of Psychology from August of '86 until December 1st of 2022. The Star learned the psychologist claims to have closed her practice on December 31st of 2022, just 86 days prior to Audrey Hale's murderous attack at the Covenant School on March 27th of 2023. It is unclear when the psychologist began treating Hale or when the treatment ended. And I don't need to tell you folks the ramifications, the importance of this story. Because if that therapist, again, this is all alleged, but if the therapist failed to do what she was supposed to do, which is notify the authorities that Audrey Hale was fantasizing about killing her parents and shooting up a school, then she didn't do that. And if she didn't, and she did, and she had, those people could still be alive. But for whatever reason, allegedly, she chose not to. Could the Covenant School shooting have been prevented? That is really what's at the heart of this particular part of the conversation. And now the question is, will there be any charges filed against this therapist if this whole thing turns out to be true? The Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Big news for my friends at Window Nation. They're right now in the middle of their semi-annual sale, and they are continuing this from last month. And this is a great opportunity for you to get some great windows and save money. Now, right now, this great deal that they're offering you, listeners to my show, if you're thinking about getting new windows, 50% off of all windows, along with 0% interest for 5 years, plus an additional bonus savings offer when you schedule an appointment right now. If your old windows leak water, have condensation, moldy or rotten, get hot to the touch, or you're just tired of paying high utility bills for heating and air conditioning, that is a very big deal. Let Window Nation help you out. Mention my name when you call 866-90-NATION. You're going to get 50% off all windows, plus 0% interest for 5 years, and a bonus savings offer when you schedule your appointment today. 866-90-NATION is the phone number. 866-90-NATION. You can always find them online. It's windownation.com. 654, Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
So are those digital speed limit and road closure signs working on I-24? President Biden's executive action on the southern border to come later today. Hunter Biden's gun charges trial opening arguments. Car thieves get nothing in Nashville, but they leave something behind. And it's the 50th anniversary of the so-called 10-cent beer night riot. Coming up at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
7 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are tracking the potential for severe weather today. Can't rule out damaging winds and hail. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Speaking of traffic, digital speed limit and road closure signs have been up on I-24 for about a year as part of a pilot program to see if it will help reduce crashes and ease traffic congestion. Channel 4 asked some drivers if they've noticed any difference.
It's always going to be traffic every morning, and it's really bad. So I feel like any sign or whatever they're trying to do is not going to stop the traffic.
I think they're useful because they kind of give you an idea of what's going on up ahead. Gives you kind of a chance sometimes to bail out before you get stuck.
Now, TDOT says there has been a small decrease in injury and fatal crashes on I-24, but travel times have not improved much. And they're working on choice lanes, which people can pay to use in order to decrease commute times. Southern border crisis, Republicans questioning the timing of President Biden's executive order to come today that would shut the border down when illegal encounters reach 2,500 per day.
There's nobody in this country that doesn't know that the problem, the crisis at the border, is because of Joe Biden. He did it. He promised he would do it. He pledged to illegal immigrants, we can handle at least 2 million a year in his campaign. And that's exactly what he did.
That's North Dakota Republican U.S. Senator Kevin Cramer. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, will be in court this morning for opening arguments in his gun charges case. Terry Moran says Hunter Biden's accused of lying about his drug problem on federal forms to buy guns.
The jury that's been seated for this case includes several people with family members who suffered from addiction or who owned firearms, including a man whose father died by gun violence and whose brother was sentenced to prison for drug crimes, and a woman whose sister was addicted to drugs and committed credit card fraud.
Back here in Nashville, Metro Police say there's been a rash of car break-ins from North Nashville to Bellevue. And one woman tells Channel 4 thieves didn't get anything when they smashed out her windows, but she did.
It was comical, honestly, because, you break into my vehicle and try to steal something, but I end up with your phone and about $6 or $7.
Police reminding you, keep your valuables out of sight and take your keys with you. 50 years ago today, someone thought it would be a great idea to offer really cheap beer at a Major League Baseball game. Chuck Severson says it did not go well.
June 4th, 1974, at the Cleveland Indians Municipal Stadium was 10-cent beer night. Fans ran across the outfield grass. Terry Urkic, remembering to ESPN, he ran out and grabbed Rangers outfielder Jeff Burrow's cap.
He kicked me right in the thigh, and he stumbled and fell down from the kick, and then the fans just really started pouring in.
Mike Hargrove, Rangers first baseman.
15 or 20 pounds of hot dogs thrown at me.
Amid arrests and injuries, Cleveland forfeited.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures down 133. S&P down 18. NASDAQ down 64. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends, along with Ken Weaver. Mason Fleming is in for Johnny B. The headline from the Associated Press, Joe Biden preparing an order that would shut down asylum if a daily average of 2,500 migrants arrive. Yes, it is the president trying to do, frankly, what he should have done a long time ago, which is fix the border issue. This is, by the way, not going to fix the border issue. Joe Biden broke the border. And so now what he's trying to do, number one, obviously this is far, far, far too late. That's number one. Number two is he clearly wants to make it look like he is doing something related to the southern border. Oh, he did something all right. He did it on day one with all of those executive orders reversing what Donald Trump did. And now he let this complete train wreck of a border situation continue for 3.5 years. So I don't care if cringe Jean-Pierre is going to sit here and say, I'm going to play you the audio where she says, the president, he has taken action on the broken border system, day one, all of these things that she'll continue to say that Joe Biden on day one took action on our broken border. He did, but he had all of those executive orders that stopped Remain in Mexico, stopped the construction of the wall, told ICE to basically stand down on a lot of their deportations. And so Biden has been a very welcoming force for illegal aliens to come into our country and, yes, feel welcome. Our society bedarned. And so that's what's going on now. Cringe Jean-Pierre yesterday was asked about the rumors that Joe Biden today is going to sign off on executive orders related to the southern border.
So look, I don't have anything to announce on all the reporting that's out there about what you just asked me about an EO and immigration. What I can say is we are constantly and will continuously look at all options to try and really deal with the immigration system, a system that's been broken for decades. You've heard the president say this. You heard the president take action. You saw the president take action on the first day of his tenure here as president when he put forward a comprehensive piece of legislation. I do not have anything to announce. And you saw this is a president who wants to fix this, who wants to deal with the broken immigration system.
Yeah, and so that has been her talking point for years now. And most people are saying, number one, it's far too late. He's trying to signal to the American people that he's doing something regarding the border. But the bottom line is, had he not reversed what Donald Trump did, and by the way, this is not enough. The 2,500 figure, clearly it's not enough. It's far too late to rescue America from all of this illegal immigration and the cost and the crime to our country, because that is ultimately what's going on now. USA Today, Biden finally acts on the border crisis, showing he could have done something about it all along. And that is true. And you know what's going to happen, right? So, gosh help us. If Joe Biden ends up getting reelected, I'm going to air quote that. If he ends up getting reelected, then the executive orders will all go by the wayside, because this was not a mistake. I know you know. I got new listeners every single day. Thank you very much and welcome. For longtime listeners and short-time listeners, you know my feeling on this. Senator Bill Hagerty and others have also said this. Joe Biden welcomes illegal aliens because it will only, in their mind, add to the power of the Democrats. Ultimately, they'll all be granted amnesty, and that means that the Democrats will get more power because they are counted in the census, and a lot of these illegal aliens are going to Democrat-run cities and states, and that means that the Democrats will have more power in the House of Representatives. I mean, that's part of the dynamic here. So for me, when you look at what Biden is trying to do and the incessant lying of cringe Jean-Pierre. Listen, they've been, and I'm going to again air quote this, they've been waiting for Congress to act. And in, Biden speak, what that basically means is that they've been gleefully doing nothing. And so the moment that he signs the executive order, it is going to be proof that he could have done something all along, but he didn't, for the reasons that I just told you about. I love this. So this is, you remember this, right? This was Joe Biden, and an example of President Biden when he was debating Donald Trump in 2020, and he talked about Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy.
This is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise, why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
Well, sorry if they were sitting in squalor, but now we have a situation in America where communities are having to deal with all of this crime. And we have some of that squalor now here in America. And one of my favorite audio bites from this morning, I'm going to play it after the traffic. It's because it's classic. It is classic Joe Biden administration. Wait till you hear it. It is coming up next. I got a little bit more. We really don't know everything that is in this executive order from the president, but I'm telling you what I know. And we'll get to some of that coming up next on WTN. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7. $7:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Storms expected today, possible hail. Today, the high will be 82 degrees. Right now, 72 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. President Biden expected to unveil immigration order severely, they say, limiting asylum seeker crossings. The other thing that I would say about this is that if there's not a wall, or if you are not completely, as our friend Uncle Phil used to say, demagnetizing America, then none of this matters. Because without proper border security, people are still going to come. But I love this. This is Quentin Fulks, and he is with the Biden administration, and he said this yesterday. You ready?
So I would say to those voters that there is simply no comparison to Donald Trump's approach to immigration policy and that of President Biden.
Well, that is certainly the truth, isn't it? I'm going to play that one more time. He is saying that if you're a voter and you're wondering if there is any difference between President Biden's immigration policy and Donald Trump's, oh, don't worry, there is a big difference.
So I would say to those voters that there is simply no comparison to Donald Trump's approach to immigration policy and that of President Biden.
So, yeah, we know, Quentin Fulks with the Biden administration. There sure is a there sure is a big difference. I just told you the difference. When Biden came in office, he reversed the Remain in Mexico policy, stopped the wall construction, welcomed in his campaigning in 2020, welcomed the rush into America from illegal immigration and from all of these various horrific nations across the world, where we have people coming in from the likes of China, from the likes of Guatemala. You've got Honduras. I mean, it goes on and on. Of course, Mexico. Most of these folks that are coming in, they're just catch and release. And that is part of what's going on. So now, of course, the border battle, CNN reporting actually right now, Biden expected to sign executive order curbing immigration. Well, theoretically, it's supposed to curb illegal immigration. But here's the deal. You know what part of this is interesting? Is you have Democrats that are starting to freak out. You have all of these vulnerable Democrats. I'm gonna air quote this: vulnerable Democrats who are refusing now to appear with Joe Biden when he signs the executive order. Now, the big question is, will this executive order actually do anything to curb illegal immigration? Because as I just said, if you don't have enough Border Patrol agents, or if the Border Patrol agents are there simply to rush people through or allow people through or process people through, and they're not there to protect the border, but to simply process people coming in, then this executive order, I just don't know if it's going to do a lot of good. And remember, was it yesterday? Last couple of days, Biden decided that we've got, 350,000 or so people here in this country illegally. And Biden just basically said, you know what? Your status is basically you're allowed to stay here. They had these amnesty, these hearings where they're supposed to show up so that they can decide whether or not they should be allowed to stay into this country. And ultimately, Biden said, you know what? You don't have to show up. Basically, asylum is granted, and you don't have to show up to your asylum hearings. 350,000. And as I said yesterday, I think I was speaking to Congressman Scott Desjardins. You know how Biden is, he is forgiving student loan debt, and it's like every week or two, you hear an announcement saying that they have forgiven, many millions. And it's just all these announcements where he's doing more and more and more. How many of these asylum seekers that are in this country now are basically going to be allowed to stay here, and they just, as I always say, they dissolve into our country, and they're not required to do anything legally. They're not expected to arrive and show up at any kind of asylum hearing. They're just allowed to stay in this country. Their asylum cases are basically deleted in the system, and nothing happens. They just stay, and that's it. That's what Joe Biden is doing. And so clearly this is, at least in my opinion, he is trying to signal to the American people, I hear you. I understand that immigration and our border insecurity is really high on the list of things that you're worried about. So how about 3.5 years after I opened the wide open border, after I decided to undo everything that Donald Trump did, I canceled remain in Mexico and all of the other things, 3.5 years of a wide open border, I'm going to go ahead and now take executive direction on this. I hope the American people see this for what it is. And again, I will repeat that if Joe Biden is reelected, he will go back to his old ways, because this is all about the manipulation of future elections. That is what this is all about. At 7:21 on Nashville's Morning News. The Super Text line, the Members Nutrition Super Text line, is open at 615-737-9986. Well, I'm looking at CNN right now. They've got their polling guy there. Would Biden or Trump do a better job on border security immigration? In June of 2020, Joe Biden was up 1 point. In May of 2024, Donald Trump is up 27 points. That's why we're going to see Joe Biden's executive actions on our wide open border at some point today, perhaps. It's now 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. I've been a Beehive member for years from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They do know the times are tough, and they don't want the cost of things to interfere with your comfort this summer. So they're offering you right now some great financing up to 12 months, no interest, no payment, with approved credit, with some great new deals on HVAC units. They're offering you free air duct cleaning, fogging, and UV light home treatment with the purchase of new units. And they've got some plumbing specials as well. $500 off select tankless water heaters and $500 off upright S&C water heaters. And if you need some repair work done on your AC unit, they're going to waive the $89 dispatch fee as well on any repair or new installation. This is why I love working with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They are your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, busybehvac.com. 7:23 on Nashville's Morning News. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
Going to tell you about a funeral home nightmare where the dead wasn't dead. This story and more at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
729 Nashville's Morning News. You got news with Ken Weaver coming up next. And then right about 7:35, 7:36, I've got some great audio from the Dr. Anthony Fauci testimony from yesterday and some really great questions from one Rand Paul. It is all straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. And I'm also going to put a button on this whole illegal immigration thing and Joe Biden's possible executive order that we're going to see later on today. It is 7:29. Friends, if you are running a fast-growing business here in Nashville, listen up, because NetSuite's Business Grows Here event is coming to Nashville on Tuesday, June 25th. You don't want to miss this. Now, the question is, why Nashville? Because NetSuite knows that Nashville is a major hub for entrepreneurs with forward-thinking founders, a top talent pool, and pro-business leadership. Now, you can apply to attend the business event of the year in Nashville. Business Grows Here, taking place at the Conrad Hotel. That's going to happen on Tuesday, June 25th. Now, speakers do include Jamie Siminoff, founder of Ring Video Doorbell, and Burke Nihill, CEO of the Tennessee Titans. NetSuite by Oracle, Business Grows Here. It is free to attend if you qualify. Apply right now to find out, because seats are going quickly. Mark your calendars. It is happening on Tuesday, June 25th. Apply right now at netsuite.com/Nashville. That's netsuite.com/Nashville. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Again, apply right now, netsuite.com/Nashville.
.30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tracking strong to severe thunderstorms possible this afternoon. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes right now in Nashville. Channel 4 says We Go bus riders are speaking out about the recent crime at or near bus stations.
Riding the bus is okay. The station, the downtown station, is the least favorite part of it. If they want more people to ride and to be a part of the solution, then they've got to make it safer here.
Yeah, the latest incident happened Sunday where a woman says a man followed her into the station on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, touched her legs, and then exposed himself. A part of Mayor Freddie O'Connell's new transportation plan includes added bus station security. Voters in November will decide whether to raise the city's sales tax to pay for it. Immigration, a top issue for voters this election season, and President Biden today hopes to improve his chances by issuing an executive order that would shut down the border after 2,500 illegal migrant encounters. Administration officials keenly aware that this will be challenged in court, but the president's approval ratings on this issue are extremely low. Meanwhile, in Delaware, President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, will be in court for opening arguments in his gun charges trial. Hunter Biden accused of lying about his drug problem on federal forms to buy guns. And a funeral home nightmare in Nebraska. Rhiannon Alley says authorities in Lincoln say a woman thought to be dead was later found to be very much alive.
Police say the 74-year-old woman had been transported from a nursing home where she was pronounced dead yesterday. 2 hours later, a funeral home employee saw the woman breathing and called 911.
A 74-year-old female that was believed to be deceased and brought here is now agonal breathing on the table.
Funeral home staff conducted CPR on the woman, and she was rushed to the hospital where her family was told she's still alive. The sheriff's office is investigating, but no charges are pending.
Now, apparently the woman's death had been anticipated. The nursing home was not required to call 911 after pronouncing her dead. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 733 Super Talk 99.7. Get the speed you need at a great price with Xfinity Internet. Now, you know what's going on in my house with all three of us working in our computers, doing homework or radio shows. We depend on Xfinity Internet in my house, and you can too. You can get up to 5 times faster upload speeds for smoother connections on the largest gig speed network from Xfinity. And Xfinity's gig speed internet is available to 99% of their footprint. In other words, it is fast, reliable, and pretty much everywhere. You can enjoy all your favorite apps all in one place with a Flex 4K streaming box. And yes, you can stay connected on the go with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. To get started, call 1-800-XFINITY. Find them online, xfinity.com, or drop into an Xfinity store today for more details. Actual speeds vary and are not guaranteed based on Xfinity's fastest available download speeds. Not available in all areas. Performance may be limited by customer's device configuration.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
7:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And welcome on in for your Tuesday, June 4th. Along with Ken Weaver, Johnny B's out this week. Mason Fleming doing an outstanding job this morning. So I want to remind you of what this Quentin Fulks with the Biden administration said. Need some audio, Mason? Maybe I spoke too soon about you doing a great job. Totally kidding.
So I would say to those voters that there is simply no comparison to Donald Trump's approach to immigration policy and that of President Biden.
That is Quentin Fulks with the Biden administration saying, there's no comparison between the Biden administration and the Trump administration when it comes to illegal immigration. And I, in the previous segment, talked about that and the very big differences between the two. But regardless of all of that, some folks definitely commenting on the Members Nutrition Super Text line regarding the Biden administration shutting down the border after, 2,500 people coming to the border daily. And so this is from 6332. My question for the Biden administration is, if you can shut down the border after 2,500 illegal invaders have crossed the border each day, then why can't you just shut the border down and have zero crossings at the border each and every day? That's what I say. That's what I've been saying for years. He says that is because if you are truly interested in stopping the illegal invasion of our country, you can. But I don't believe that Joe Biden is truly interested in that. Now, have you seen this story? Migrant accused of shooting 2 New York Police Department cops had immigration case dismissed within a year of illegally crossing into the U.S. Now, what did Joe Biden, I talked about this in the previous segment. What did Joe Biden do in the last couple of days? He had 360,000 migrants who he canceled their asylum cases. So they could just be here and not have to go through any kind of a process, basically granting them amnesty. Same thing happened, it seems, with this migrant. This is a story that came out yesterday. The Venezuelan migrant accused of shooting 2 New York City police officers during the early morning hours of yesterday, crossed into the U.S. illegally last year, but the case against him has already been dismissed. The New York Post can exclusively reveal. I mean, I could go on and on, but you've heard this, friends, you've heard the story 1,000 times. I don't need to go through this over and over again. You know what happens next. They cross into our country. The hearings are canceled. They're basically allowed to stay. That is the message from the Biden administration. You can stay. And now here we are with a couple of cops that have been shot. I mean, obviously, it's horrific. And we're going to see this more and more and over. They say this is just the latest example proving that the government does not have the capacity to adequately vet large numbers of people randomly pouring across our borders, says former ICE Chief of Staff John Fear, who is now at the Center for Immigration Studies, telling the New York Post. And see, that's why Joe Biden is doing what he's doing with this executive order on immigration today. But it's not going to help, because I think that people understand, if they're paying attention, that this is far too little, too late. And it's not really even, I mean, yeah, it's an executive order. Ken talked about how it will end up challenged in court. This is, at least to me, sort of the president virtue signaling, hey, I'm trying to do something with our broken border. But the reality is he's not doing jack. He is not doing jack. This is all for show. Let's move on. 742 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, had some really great comments about, I was talking about the reporting from Brian Wilson and the Tennessee Star on this allegation that allegedly the therapist for the Covenant shooter, Audrey Hale, was legally supposed to refer Hale to the authorities after Hale, it would appear, told the therapist that she wanted to kill her parents and shoot up a school. And I told you all about that in the second half of the 6 o'clock hour. And people asking a lot of questions about that. So I'm going to go through some of the comments that you made in the 8 o'clock hour right here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay, so Anthony Fauci was on the hot seat. This was yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene was right there to grill him, and grill him she did. And this was one of those things where, again, I said to you yesterday, expect a lot of grandstanding. And there was a lot of grandstanding. But do you remember when Anthony Fauci said,
I represent science.
That he represents science? Well, not surprisingly, that did come up yesterday.
Because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no answer.
Yes, it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as you don't know what you represent.
Apparently, Fauci doesn't know what he represents as or identifies as. Fauci, I will go ahead and throw it out there. In my opinion, Anthony Fauci does not represent science, because you know what science is all about? Science is all about being able to defend your theories, defend your arguments against other scientists. That's what science is all about. It is about accountability and proving your science time and again. Anthony Fauci wasn't about that. Anthony Fauci, as you know, he was all about just shutting down anyone who disagreed with him during COVID. And so that's why when, Marjorie Taylor Greene goes after him about, representing science, well, I would argue with Dr. Anthony Fauci all day long. Well, I will say, well, yeah, he is a scientist, and yes, he is a doctor. But I would also say that he did not do his job when he tried to shut down everyone else who had other opinions related to COVID and the treatments of COVID vaccines. We could also talk about the lockdowns, and we will. 7:45, time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jack. Storms possible today, even some hail. A high of 82, right now 72 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Going over some of the more meaningful audio of Dr. Anthony Fauci and his grilling yesterday in the House of Representatives. Fauci talking about how he does not represent science, despite what he said. Really a lot of arguing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And, to me, even though people are criticizing Marjorie Taylor Greene for her line of questioning, I actually have no problem with most of what she said or did.
NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks, to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees?
Yeah, that's royalties. And this is not something new. There's some people that think this is breaking. It is not breaking news. This has been going on, and this has been known for a long time. I talked about it quite some time ago. Now, we may be finding out just how much they're making, and holy mackerel. But it is true that these scientists at NIH, they are making royalties based on either, you can talk about the vaccines, innovations, and I guess research and the like, and they get royalty payments based on those inventions or research these NIH scientists do. So, for example, it seems to me like if they're saying you must get a vaccine, Joe Biden comes out and he mandates the vaccines. And NIH and Dr. Anthony Fauci will back him up on that. Well, those same people apparently are getting royalties from those vaccines. So they have a vested interest in these vaccines being mandated. This is from the New York Post. New data from the National Institute of Health reveals the agency and its scientists collected $710 million in royalties during the pandemic from late 2021 through 2023. These are payments, they say, made by private companies like pharmaceuticals to license medical innovations from government scientists. They say that almost all of that cash, $690 million, went to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, the sub-agency led by, you guessed it, everybody's favorite doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and 260 of its scientists. They say it is unclear if any of the COVID vaccine royalties from Pfizer or Moderna went to the scientists. They do say it is unclear if any of the COVID vaccine royalties from Pfizer and Moderna, the latter of which did settle with NIH by agreeing to pay $400 million, is even included in these new numbers. NIH won't talk. And I guess that's part of my question is, why is there so much secrecy? Because that's been part of what Rand Paul has been saying all along, and others, is that nobody wants to talk. Well, nobody wants to talk because it looks really bad. It stinks to high heaven, as a matter of fact. So the question is, did any of the protocols or the vaccines themselves that NIH and Fauci were recommending, did any of that lead to royalty money coming back to them? Back to the New York Post, Fauci spent years scoffing at questions about potential conflicts of interest between COVID policymakers who relentlessly pushed vaccines and recipients of private royalties. So Marjorie Taylor Greene goes after Dr. Anthony Fauci for many reasons, and she even refused to call him a doctor.
Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Fauci,
objection.
I reclaim my
Mr. Chairman,
time.
objection.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will
suspend.
Mr. Chairman,
of order.
Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
It's kind of funny because you can hear the exhaustion of Jamie Raskin.
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Will suspend.
So it's kind of funny because, again, you can hear the frustration in the voice of the chairman, and I think this is Jamie Raskin when he says,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into?
I don't understand the pearl clutching or the hand wringing, but here's the deal. Doesn't matter what we have become or how we have devolved into this. The reason why they're there is because of the failed response to COVID and the fact that Dr. Anthony Fauci, number one, is if you thought that and you said that COVID came from that Chinese lab, Dr. Anthony Fauci called you a conspiracy theorist. If you were somebody who said, oh, wait a minute, the lockdowns are going to cause more damage than actual COVID to our children, then you were told that you wanted to kill people. So I don't care about...
Is this what we have devolved into?
There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered from Dr. Anthony Fauci. So I love the pearl clutching here, but you know what? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And, part of this is, well, we need to, make sure this doesn't happen again. Well, I've got a little bit of a side take on all of this. We need to be paying attention to what Dr. Anthony Fauci says, and we need to pay attention to this whole hearing, because when this happens again, when our government comes to us and they say, we need to lock down your freedoms, we need to destroy your job, we need to destroy your ability to choose whether or not you get a vaccine or not, we need to be able to be armed with the information necessary so that we know how to respond the next time. Because there will be a next time. And Rand Paul has some great questions, and I'm going to play those questions and a whole lot more coming up next on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Going to have some storms today, hopefully no power outages, but if you end up with a power outage, I want you to put this phone number into your phone. It's my friends at Cove Generators at 931-559-3311. Because when your power goes out, you need a generator. Now, if you can hear my voice, you are in the path of tornadoes and power outages. We all know this. We live in Middle Tennessee. You need a backup home standby generator from my friends at Cove Generators. And right now, listeners to my show get a free and upgraded 10-year warranty, $500 off as well. When you mention my name, Dan Mandis. Cove Generators are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer in the state of Tennessee. If you've got any questions, call my buddy Generator Dave. He's going to answer whatever questions you have before the purchase, during the purchase, or after the purchase as well. This is a company that you can trust. And remember that great deal. A free upgraded 10-year warranty and $500 off when you mention my name. That is a deal you are not going to find anywhere else but at Cove Generators. 931-559-3311. 931-559-3311 for Cove Generators. Tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. It is 7:54 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to find out from Ken Weaver what's coming up in the news today.
So, how are those digital speed limit and road closure signs on I-24 working out? This story and more at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
8 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Can't rule out severe weather today. Could see storms with gusty winds and small hail as the main threats. Full forecast. Traffic updates in 5 minutes. Speaking of traffic, do you think those smart corridor pilot program, those signs on I-24 have helped relieve traffic congestion and crashes? Channel 4 asked some drivers, now that it's been nearly a year since those digital speed limit signs and road closure signs went up.
It's always going to be traffic every morning, and it's really bad. So I feel like any sign or whatever they're trying to do is not going to stop the traffic.
I think they're useful because they kind of give you an idea of what's going on up ahead. Gives you kind of a chance sometimes to bail out before you get stuck.
Now, TDOT says there has been a small decrease in injury and fatal crashes, but travel times have not improved much. Traffic volume has increased by as much as 5%, and they're working on choice lanes, which people can pay to use in order to decrease commute times. Republicans say President Biden's trying to divert attention from the problem they say he created by using an executive order today to shut down the border after 2,500 illegal migrant encounters per day. Here's North Dakota Republican U.S. Senator Kevin Cramer.
It's a very desperate man trying to divert, I guess, what is in my mind an irredeemable problem, and that is that he created a crisis at the border intentionally, purposefully, politically. Spent 3.5 years opening the borders and saying, come on in.
Yeah, administration officials that say they know it's going to be challenged in court. But then what they don't say is that the president's approval ratings on this issue are extremely low. And President Biden's son, Hunter Biden's gun charges trial enters the opening arguments phase today. Stephen Portnoy says a jury of 6 men and 6 men were sworn in yesterday.
Prosecutors describe it as a simple case involving a checkbox on a form which they say Hunter Biden falsely selected to indicate he was not addicted to drugs when he bought a handgun in 2018. Biden's attorneys have signaled they'll argue the form was confusing, that the terms unlawful user of or addicted to were undefined. The jurors include several gun owners and relatives of addicts.
And today marks 50 years since an idea to offer beer for pennies turned into a riot. Chuck Sievertson reports.
June 4th, 1974, at the Cleveland Indians Municipal Stadium was 10-cent beer night. Fans ran across the outfield grass. Terry Urkic, remembering to ESPN, he ran out and grabbed Rangers outfielder Jeff Burrow's cap.
He kicked me right in the thigh, and he stumbled and fell down from the kick, and then the fans just really started pouring in.
Mike Hargrove, Rangers first baseman.
15 or 20 pounds of hot dogs thrown at me.
Amid arrests and injuries, Cleveland forfeited.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures down 86. S&P down 13. NASDAQ down 36. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
8:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Thank you for listening. Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Just going through some of the, there's just mountains of audio that I could have played with Dr. Anthony Fauci. And I want to play this one moment, then we're going to get into some Rand Paul audio. But this one moment, this is Congressman Rich McCormick. He is out of Georgia and the 6th Congressional District. It was basically 6.5 minutes of him blasting Dr. Anthony Fauci and the impact that Fauci and the government, frankly, had on our society, the impact on our society.
Shame on you. Dr. Fauci, you've become Dr. Fear. Americans do not hate science. I don't hate science. The American people hate having their freedoms taken from them. You inspired and created fear through mass mandates, school closures, vaccine mandates that have destroyed the American people's trust in our public health institutions. This fear you created will continue to have ripple effects over generations to come. You have already seen its effects in education, in the economy, and everything else. Quite frankly, you said if you...
So that is what happens when you play stuff right off Twitter. But that is a part. And what I'm gonna do, because I was enthralled as I was watching this during the commercial break. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to tweet that out and let you see it for yourself, because and I'm going to say this is amazing, and I'm going to go ahead and tweet that out. There you go. And you can watch it for yourself. Now, a couple of things. Rand Paul had a lot of questions, and a lot of folks actually had questions about Fauci's testimony yesterday. You know, for me, I don't know if there's anything. It's like talking to a brick wall with Dr. Anthony Fauci. And so you can only watch so much before you just get frustrated, because you know that you're actually not going to find anything out about anything that really, truly happened. We're talking about what science is earlier. And I actually had some scientists email me and talk about, part of what science is it is trying to disprove, I guess, your own theory. And the point that I have always been making with Fauci is that he wouldn't allow that to happen. You have all of these various scientists, and their job is everybody's supposed to fact check each other. You know what I mean? Question the science, make sure that your science is actually valid. Well, as I've pointed out 1,000 times now, Dr. Anthony Fauci did not allow that to happen. Where did I leave off? I was running audio from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and this was part of what she had to say. And by the way, I heard from some folks that I very much respect, several of them, who said that while they applaud what Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying, they're not real fond of the messenger because, of course, as you perhaps know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has a certain reputation as bit of a crackpot. She can be over the top sometimes. And so while they appreciate her coming after Fauci for all of these various things, including the royalties, when it comes from Marjorie Taylor Greene, it puts a little bit of a crackpot stink to it, some people would say. Now, I would say that anytime anyone can shed light on these kinds of things, then ultimately it doesn't matter who it is, as long as that person has some credibility and is telling the truth. In this instance, I can tell you that it does seem to me like Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling the truth. And here's some more from, hold on, Marjorie. All right, here's more from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And
what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
There you go. So there you go. That is the Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, I've got to get to this Rand Paul audio. He was on, because, he and Fauci, they've been going back and forth for years. And so he has been watching all of this discussion. That's what I'll call all of this testimony. He has been doing all of this, watching all of this discussion, Rand Paul has, and he's been, unfortunately not able to question himself because this is taking place in the House of Representatives and not the Senate where Rand Paul actually serves. So for him, he's watching all of this and he is realizing that, you know what, there's a lot of things that Dr. Anthony Fauci simply refuses to answer. And that's a problem. Clearly, that's a problem because of the ramifications of everything that we have seen to Dr. Anthony Fauci's influence and his decisions. And so the longer that
Meanwhile, all of these people were privately saying, oh my goodness, it looks like it was manipulated. But publicly they were saying it's a conspiracy theory. They went to Facebook, they suppressed it. They told Facebook, suppress the story of anything coming from the lab. It's all conspiracy theory. So in no way was Fauci ever objective. Fauci leaned in on this. He pressed hard and he used his 40 years worth of accumulated power to try to suppress any story that this came from the lab.
That's Rand Paul. Who knew what when? Who was allowed to have a voice in the discussions? Everybody was worried that this was gain of function gone awry. I told you that story yesterday. That's what everybody was worried about. And so when word of COVID hit, people did start freaking out. And so they were, because, that in NIH, they were funding gain of function research through EcoHealth. And so they gave this money and these grants to EcoHealth. EcoHealth gave it to the Wuhan lab. The Wuhan lab was doing gain of function research, and oops, somehow it escaped. And that's what everyone was worried about. And so Fauci systematically told everybody, no, this is not gain of function research escaped. Yeah, that's a ticket. This came from the wet market right outside of the Wuhan lab. And people like me and people like you, we were called conspiracy theorists for years by not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, but the media as well. And I think we all do remember that. And so now the question is, what happened to all of that discussion? What happened to all of that debate between Fauci and the people that worked with him, his peers, and all of the folks that were involved in this conversation where Fauci was saying and demanding that people understand that, no, this was not gain of function. This was bat to human transfer of a coronavirus. Rand Paul wants to see all of that research. And for some reason, some bizarre reason, the government won't give the Dr. Rand Paul, they won't give him the research. And the question is why? Listen to what he says.
For 3 years, I've been asking the NIH for the deliberations. If this is not gain of function, I want to see the discussion between the scientists. Fauci says all the scientists up and down, they all said it wasn't gain of function. Let me see the deliberations. I want to see the arguments for and against. They won't reveal this. They are tighter-lipped than the CIA on this.
Well, they won't reveal it because there really wasn't much of a discussion. Dr. Fauci basically threw the hammer down and said, this is animal to human transfer, period. And anyone who had a differing opinion from Dr. Anthony Fauci ended up getting discredited and their careers destroyed. And I've told you ad nauseum about the Great Barrington Project where they said the lockdowns are going to be worse than COVID for the kids. And that did turn out to be the case. And Fauci and his thugs did everything they could to discredit those scientists. It is 8:16, time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you very much. 8:17, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. As far as your weather goes, stormy today, possible hail. Today, a high of 82. Right now, 73. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm sorry, 8:17 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Is Weaver over there? Is he? Hey, Ken, you ever be in the middle of a newscast and have 15 windows pop up on your computer?
Yeah.
That's what just happened to me a few minutes ago. And I'm like, and I'm trying to play it cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can get through this. I can do it. I know that I just spent 30 seconds setting up the audio bite, and I've got 15 windows that are flashing in front of me.
Yeah, it can be distracting, especially what is on those windows.
Well, there's nothing. I've got too many windows open, I think, basically is the bottom line. And then I had a couple pop up, and it was all work-related, Ken Weaver. What are you trying to say, man?
We'll have IT check into that.
I'm sure they'll get right on it. Moving right along. 8:18 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Yeah, the people are really commenting. Ken says Dr. Fauci is the new Dr. Death. 51-43, and a lot of people agree with this statement. Regardless of what happens, Marjorie Taylor Greene sounds like a total arse. Doesn't represent Republicans well at all. She loses all credibility. 5300 says MTG is a fine-looking baby doll. Oh, that's it. That's in reference to the fight she had with
Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett and AOC. That's right. That was funny. 2407 says we need over the top right now. All right, I'll give you that. I'm going to move right along. Let's see here. A couple of scientists. I had no idea we had scientists listening to the radio program, Ken, but actually there are scientists that are emailing me right now.
Cool. What are they saying?
Some of them are telling me what science actually is about proving and disproving, and the whole fact checking. Scientists have to not only fact each other, but they have to fact check themselves. And if you've got a theory as to whatever it is, then it is your job as a scientist to try and disprove your own theory. That's part of it, I guess. So, and I remember that from way back when. So, anyway, whatever.
I wonder, did anything come out of this?
No.
Hearing?
See, that's what I said yesterday.
Because, I mean, exactly. Your interview with Congressman Desjardins was right on, whenever you asked, what do we need to come out of this? And he said, we need for some evidence to come out that helps us get to the bottom of the origin, of the actual origin of the coronavirus. And I don't know if we got there. And, I mean, there was something that I saw where Fauci admitted that one of his top advisors there in one of the NIH arms, he thought was acting inappropriately in some of the emails regarding the possible suppression of Federal Information Act, public records requests. But we didn't hear any more about it.
That was one of Fauci's, and that one of the audio bites that I had with Rand Paul actually spoke about that, where that was one of Fauci's assistants, and Fauci just threw him right under the bus. And so anybody who questioned, because they knew, and that's all in the emails. They went in and they scrubbed all of these emails. That's part of what Rand Paul was talking about, where they had all of these emails going back and forth about, we're being told that this was, bat to human transmission, but we're worried about this, the Wuhan lab, and it escaping from the Wuhan lab. They had to go in and they had to delete all of the emails, and they had to do all of that deleting and basically covering their tracks.
Right.
And that's part of what Fauci did in throwing down that hammer.
Yeah. And, the mainstream yesterday, they're just focused, their main focus was on how Dr. Fauci's family came under attack and threats. And I don't condone that. But we need to stick with what we're trying to find out here is where this virus actually came from. And there was actually a piece in the New York Post from a scientist who knows about, the levels of protection against lab leaks, who claims to know that the level of protection against a lab leak at that Wuhan laboratory was not high enough.
No, it wasn't even close to high enough. That was something that came out, during COVID, during this whole conversation. And I forget all of the stories.
Her last name is Chan.
Chan.
I got to go in and look at that. But
yeah, but that was also one of the big complaints, was that the Wuhan lab didn't have the protocols necessary to be handling gain-of-function research. You've got the World Health Organization, who they have been theoretically trying to do its own investigation, but guess what? China wouldn't cooperate.
Yeah.
Because China controls the World Health Organization.
And why and like this lady, this scientist is asking, she's urging investigators to subpoena exchanges between Wuhan scientists and international partners. And I don't know why this isn't happening, or if it is happening, if these people are just untouchable and they don't have to turn any of that over. Or like you have mentioned, Dan, everything's already scrubbed.
Yeah.
By now.
Everything's already scrubbed. And so the only reason, because, and I talked about this yesterday, where, okay, so like you're saying, Ken, what are we going to find out? Because I've been playing, Fauci versus Rand Paul, Fauci versus, you name it, for years now. And you're right, nothing ever really comes of it. It's just Fauci goes in, he is, a punching bag, deservedly so, but nothing really comes of it. It's just like, it's like trying to talk to Corinne Jean-Pierre or Alejandro Mayorkas. It's just, they've got the same talking points over and over again, and you can't really get anywhere, and that's what makes it so frustrating. So you've got all of the great audio from the lawmakers doing what they do, but at the end of the day, Fauci doesn't admit anything. He still believes that he was right, but it's clear that they were wrong in how they went about dealing with COVID. You've got the royalty thing. You've got the fact that they ignored where COVID came from, and they suppressed differing opinions from Dr. Anthony Fauci's and the NIH. They suppressed that, and then they worked with the social media companies to keep all of this suppressed.
And the companies just went right along with it.
And the companies went right along with it. So, there are times when I'm frustrated because there's just a mountain of stuff to talk about with this, and we only have so much time.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So there you go.
Yep.
And then you got the great comments from the super text line. Marjorie Taylor Greene is eye candy. Hey, Mason, you think Marjorie Taylor Greene is eye candy?
No comment.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
All right. I met her, when I was in, I met her and I met Elise Stefanik.
Yeah.
And they're all very nice.
Firm handshakes?
Firm handshakes.
Firm handshakes.
Firm handshakes all around, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. All right, 8:25, Nashville's Morning News. It's Dan Mandis here with a question for you. You know what? We have a bunch of hail coming in today. If your roof was destroyed in a hailstorm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies, they'll refuse to pay full replacement costs. They'll deduct money for an older roof. This means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they're going to pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. So call them. The phone number is 329-8121. That's 615-329-8121. Get your royal review at tkinginsurance.com. The Members Nutrition Super Text line is very busy, and that number is 615-737-9986. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news at 8:30?
Well, Tennessee getting closer to executing child sex predators. Louisiana wants to cut them. That's coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
News with Ken is coming up next. Is Zero Res. Listen, spring cleaning time in the Madness house, maybe your house as well. It's time to call Zero Res. They've got a great offer going on right now. If you need to clean your carpet, you've got to call my friends at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $99, plus a free dryer vent cleaning with air duct cleaning as well, and $20 off of tile cleaning as well. Now, this is the company that comes to my rescue. You know the stuff that lives in your carpet, right? Pet germs and odors and stuff that make you and your kids sick. Well, Zero Res can get most of that junk out of your carpet, leaving you with soft, fluffy carpets that are going to dry twice as fast. I mean, Zero Res really has come to my rescue multiple times. Call them today for that great deal, $99 plus you get a free dryer vent cleaning with air duct cleaning and $20 off of tile cleaning as well. And that 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $99, that is a fantastic deal. So call them today, 615-535-9376, 615-535-9376. Book online, ZeroResNashville.com. Zero Res, it is the right way to clean.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Republicans say President Biden's executive action today to shut the border down after 2,500 illegal migrant encounters per day isn't fooling Americans as to who is to blame for the crisis, and they say it won't help his re-election chances.
I just find it to be, desperate and so transparent as to be worse than ineffective.
That is North Dakota Republican U.S. Senator Kevin Cramer. A lot of virtue signaling from the White House press secretary when it comes to opening arguments starting today in Hunter Biden's gun charges trial.
The president and the first lady love their son. They support their son. You've heard them say that. You've seen that many times in statements.
Hunter Biden accused of lying about a drug problem on federal forms to buy guns. And a new law goes into effect in Tennessee on July 1st that allows for the death penalty for child rapists. Now get a load of what could happen to child sex predators in another state.
In the Louisiana legislature,
Senate Bill 371
has sailed through committee.
Administration of surgical castration.
In a handful of states, sex offenders can opt for chemical castration as part of their punishment. But Louisiana State Senator Regina Barrow says court-ordered surgical castration might serve as a deterrent to a potential child rapist.
Once they realize the consequence of having it cut off, it may actually make them think twice.
Castration would not be automatic, but come at a judge's discretion.
All right. It is time now for the market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. We are a couple of minutes into the new trading day, and right now the Dow is down 143, S&P off 13, NASDAQ down 29. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nick Reeves, 834, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN, springtime in Middle Tennessee. DT McCall's is the place you need to go if you need some lawn equipment, maybe some outdoor furniture, indoor furniture as well. Bottom line here, friends, if you need something for your home, your garage, your yard, DT McCall's is the place you need to go for whatever you need to get ready for the hotter weather. They've got 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, no doubt one near you. If you need some kitchen appliances, this is where I got my stove. I think it was last year. My stove went out. I went to dtmccalls.com and I found exactly what I was looking for because this is a great company. DT McCall's has great value, terrific customer service as well. They've been in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years and they've lasted so long because of that customer service and great quality of products. So many ways to save. All you need to do is go to one place, my place, DT McCall's, 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Franklin, Cookeville, Lafayette, and Lebanon. Always online, dtmccalls.com. 8:39, Nashville's Morning News. Boy, are we late. Weaver, what's wrong with you, man?
Went a little long during the news there, Brother Dan. Had to get that sexual predator castration story in.
Not something you hear every day.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
I listen, I'm right there. What are we talking about? Go. I was getting my throat coat.
Yeah. Oftentimes it's like I'm not a fan of things. I'm a very big fan of this.
Yeah. Actually, sure.
Huge fan.
What is the story?
Well, Tennessee, we're getting ready to, give judges discretion on whether or not to execute child rapists.
Right.
Louisiana's legislature has passed a bill that would allow a judge to impose surgical castration.
Is it surgical or is it chemical?
It's surgical. It is actual cutting.
The old snip.
The old snip.
So what are they going to do? Are they
exactly what you're thinking, man.
Exactly what you're thinking.
Sterilized scissors.
Probably not like you see in a pasture somewhere on a farm.
Yeah.
But technically the same thing.
Okay. Wow. All right. I think that's a good idea. I have zero issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah, apparently it got bipartisan support.
Talk about a deterrent.
Yeah,
Yep.
That'd do it.
That would do it. Hey, I want to say happy birthday to listener Caitlin.
Yeah, happy birthday, Caitlin.
Happy birthday, Caitlin.
She just turned 21, so she's now legally allowed to listen to Nashville's Morning News.
is that the age?
That is the age, 21. Now, if you're 18 or if you're 21 or under, we allow you to listen. Just don't let us know.
Yeah.
Because we'd hate to have to turn you in. I'm just kidding. One of the things we noticed, and actually, by the way, Caitlin and her father, William, have been listening for the last 3 years. So I guess William introduced Caitlin perhaps to Nashville's Morning News, and now they apparently listen all the time. So thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised at the amount of younger people that came up to us during the Glock store.
I think it's because you have been using younger terms, Dan, like based and red pilled.
That's right.
Is that what it is?
I think you're magnetizing the radio station for a younger audience.
Yep.
Is that animal magnetism? That is, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That got awkward. Hey, anyway, so happy birthday, Caitlin, and thank you to Caitlin and William for listening. All right, so.
Hold on, real quick. 0229 on the members' nutrition text line, talking about the surgical castration. He has the technical term. It's performing a lopedotomy.
As opposed to a lobotomy.
Yeah.
They're going to perform a bobbit.
Yeah.
Right? There's Lorena Bobbitt, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Everybody want to... All right. Is it 9 o'clock yet?
Was it?
You guys, man, I thought that was funny.
Didn't a police officer find that thing on the side of the road?
I don't know.
And then they asked him, is it mine? And he said, I don't know. It's the only one that was out there.
They had to find some, like, ice or something.
Yeah, as if there might be others. That's the only one we found.
Yeah, don't know.
I'll take it.
Yep, there you go. I don't know. Lorena Bobbitt.
Were you
a bobbitotomy?
Were you telling bubble bath stories today?
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No, that was Mason.
Hey, whoa now.
I got a text from Jason, the members' nutrition text line. He said, Chris, do you have any bubble bath stories from yesterday to tell us?
Do you?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, then
I didn't know if there was...
the audience is going to miss out on your great bubble bath story.
I don't have...
Why was I? Oh, I went through this whole thing at 5. Oh my God. Do I redo that whole thing, Ken, that I did in the? Because that was like a.
Well, we'd have to go. It would probably take a long time.
All right, I can do it real quick.
Okay.
So Ken was talking about a woman who went to the.
She was pronounced dead in hospice at a nursing home.
Yes.
When she got to the funeral home, she started breathing on the table there. So they had to call 911. But the nursing home apparently was not under obligation to call 911 because it was hospice under Nebraska law.
So then we started talking about hospice nurse Julie on TikTok, which is one of my favorite TikTok accounts because it's like Tales from the Hospice facility.
Oh, geez.
And she's great. No, I love it because it's very uplifting.
Okay.
Because Julie's thing is, and I'm going to get her book. I wonder if I could interview her. Anyway, so she's great. Amy and I were talking about it, and I said, we had no idea that we both followed the same hospice nurse on TikTok.
Your Amy impression is just a 10 out of 10, by the way.
Is it? I'm not so sure about that. So then I go to take my bath.
Yeah. Okay.
And
is this the point where we start attracting the younger audience?
This is exactly where it is. And so, I have Epsom salt in my bath because
of course,
it helps relax your body.
Yeah.
And so do the bubbles. So Amy, great, because we're talking about death, Amy and I are. So I go into the...
Just in general?
Just in general.
Okay.
So then I get this hankering as I'm in the bath to go watch the Mark Green dying scene from ER.
What?
It's I loved ER, the TV show ER, and it's the scene where Mark Green dies. Mark Green was one of my favorite characters, and it's a scene that I always remembered. And so I decide, because we're talking about death, to go watch it. Amy walks in at that exact moment when I'm watching this, and I'm blubbering in the bubble bath. I'm like, she walks in, why are you crying? I just
It's just one of those days. I needed a good cry.
No. The funniest part, I forgot about this. The funniest part, she says, I said, Mark Green died. And she thought I was talking about the congressman.
I thought you were talking about the congressman
at first.
first.
From ER. And it's just, oh my God, it was just this whole thing. So anyway,
you like ER a lot?
Yeah, it's a great show.
Never watched it.
I know you didn't. You know why? Because you're not a fan of all things that are good.
It was too current thing for me.
ER was too current thing for you?
It was too current thing.
Oh, man, come on. Anyway, so that was why bubble baths came up.
Okay.
I just, damn. So it came time for me to go take my bath.
Well,
I just want to point out.
It just came time for it.
Dan is so good at radio because he does the theater of the mind so well.
Absolutely.
I felt like I was there in the bathroom while you were crying.
All I can do is I can picture Dan's head above a bunch of fluffy bubbles. And then the TV with some sad music going and tears.
He's got a little lip quiver going on.
You ever try to wipe the tears out of your eyes when you got bubbles on your hands?
I was crying. Now it's the soap burning me.
And then the door opening and you hear, what are you doing?
What is going on in here?
I did. We have one of those barn doors. And so she opens it. She doesn't knock like she's supposed to. So she opens the barn door to our bathroom. And she's just, why are you crying, man? Mark Green died. She's like, the congressman. And I'm like, no.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do the salts go in before the bubbles, or is it the other way around? I mean, or does it matter?
Water turns on, and about, halfway through the tub filling up, I put in the suds and the salt.
Okay.
Sudsy and salty. And then when I get out of the bath, Amy tells me that I smell good. Is this segment over yet? Should I remind everybody that this? Should I remind everybody that this segment is brought to you by My Patriot Supply at preparewithmandis.com? Anyway, you know what I need? Why doesn't the sales department sell me an endorsement for bath salts?
Yeah.
And by the way, just so we're all clear, when we did this at 5:30, I got super texts from some dude who says that he is an X Games skateboarder. Yeah. Who says, oh, absolutely, Dr. Oh, whatever that doctor is. I said it in the 5:30.
One of those doctors.
No,
the Dr. Teal.
Dr. Teal. Yeah, he says it's a skateboarder uses Dr. Teal's. And another guy said that he uses Dr. Teal's as well.
I think my wife uses Dr. Teal's. I think there's a bottle of Teal's in my shower.
Well, you know what, Ken?
I might try that.
They've got lotion. They've got bath soap.
I'll tell you what.
And they've got
After all the Fauci testimony yesterday, what America needs is a doctor we can trust, and that's Dr. Teals.
Dr. Teals.
Absolutely, it's Dr. Teals.
100%.
Spelled I-E, right?
Teals.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
I think.
Dr. Teal, he never changed his stance on anything halfway through.
No. I hope not. A little too late for me.
Dr. Teal bath salts.
Yep.
Is that an S or a Z at the end of salts?
I think it's an S. Yeah.
Ah, there it is. Yep. That's right there on the side of my shower. I'll have to use some of that. Like I said, my wife, she's got like hundreds of dollars of product just sitting around our bathroom. That's one of them.
I've got to turn off the super text line. I'm
looking at it too.
I'm going away.
I'm looking at it too.
This is one of those moments, man, where I just probably shouldn't have gone down the road.
Well, I told you, I kind of gave you that out, but you just went right.
Just kept going.
That's what I do, man.
Kind of like those salts and suds.
Yes.
Right in.
You brought something for this segment, didn't you?
I did. Have you heard about the jurors on Hunter Biden's trial?
No, I haven't.
It sounds completely different than the jurors that Trump got.
One juror's childhood best friend died from a heroin overdose. Another juror has news reports one juror's childhood best friend died from a heroin overdose. Another juror has an alcoholic brother-in-law. He called it a disease. Brother-in-law is now dead. One juror's dad was shot dead, and his brother was arrested for narcotics possession.
Wow.
Another juror pled guilty to a DUI. Another juror had an older brother addicted to PCP and heroin, but doesn't think people should own guns if they're addicted to drugs. Although another juror says weed's no big deal and you should be able to buy a gun on it. And another juror worked for the Secret Service. Her husband still in the Secret Service. Ashley Biden reportedly smiling when she heard that.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, and there's an Obama donor as an alternate.
There you go.
I like the. Oh, by the way, the alternate's an Obama donor.
Wow.
Is that's Ashley Biden from the Diary fame?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know, never mind. I'm not going to do it.
I know what you're.
I'm not going to do it. No,
you're not going to do it.
I'm not going to make a bubble bath joke.
I was right there with you, though. I was right there with you, but we should probably move on.
Yeah, it's probably not the right time.
What is coming up next?
Well, we got Anthony Fauci audio. We're going to go over that. We also have updates from what's happening today. So if Joe Biden goes live today with his executive orders on the border, we're going to try and cover that. Plus, we have updates from Hunter's trial, new polls dropping, and it shows drops in trust in the judicial system. Surprise, surprise. Plus crime in America.
You know, the funny thing is, one of the things, Ken and I were talking about this earlier, what we discovered during Fauci's testimony, which a lot of this stuff is what we've heard before. One of the things was where they say that science did not support that whole 6 feet apart pandemic guideline. Dr. Anthony Fauci finally, at the very least, conceded to that. How funny is it? Because, you know, when you went to like Home Depot or Lowe's and they had the little yellow dots on the ground when you were waiting in line, I wonder if they still have those dots on the floor.
Some places do.
They do. They still have the dots on the floor, and you see them, and it's like, you know, I was snickering at the time, and now we find out, of course, science did not support that.
Remember how you could only go one direction?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes. You could only go one direction. What we should go down the road of like all the ridiculous things with COVID.
I have some flashback audio from COVID to remind everybody. It's
cool.
The COVID stuff is one of those things where usually like I'll get angry about something and then I'll give it a little time and I feel better. Like with the Trump verdict, like instantly my reaction was anger.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well this is going to be good, and I go positive. With COVID and Fauci, the more time I spend thinking about it, the angrier I actually get.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get more perspective as time goes on.
Yep.
So, all right, looking forward to your show after 9, 8:54. Dan Mandis here. Did you know that Mark Spain Real Estate is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America? They've got over 11,000 5-star reviews. They're going to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. This is hassle-free selling with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Mark Spain Real Estate has been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years. As a matter of fact, they've helped over 58,000 families sell their homes. Now, one of our listeners, Ashley, says Mark Spain Real Estate's knowledge of the market and strategy made selling my home simple. She says she's already recommended Mark Spain Real Estate to some of her friends. And I got to tell you, I'm so impressed with how they make home selling easy. I've spoken to their customers, and all of them sing the praises of Mark Spain Real Estate. Call them today, 855-299-SOLD. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 855-299-SOLD. Find them online. Mark Spain Real Estate to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Dan Matt is here. How would you like to be free of car loan debt, credit card debt, no personal loans either? Loan Pronto can help you do just that with an Equity Express line of credit. You can tap into that equity in your home today and save you money on those high interest loans. Yes, homeowners are turning that home equity into cash these days almost instantly with Loan Pronto's AI-based system. It only takes about 10 minutes, and yes, it is really easy. There's no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle, just relief from those high interest payments. Call them right now. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 615-499-5780. LoanPronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.